All right, so chat, thank you guys for joining us today for iMixer's next installment of Partner Panel. We're covering the reality of full-time streaming today, which I feel like is a really important subject to cover, especially with open monetization coming out. People exploring multi-streaming on multiple platforms and trying to make streaming more of a viable source of income for themselves. And unfortunately, if full-time streaming were easy, everybody would be doing it. So we're going to get into the pros and cons and the very real scenarios of being a full-time streamer. Some of them are awesome. Some of them are pretty big struggles. And I couldn't think of two better partners to join me today than Asikaa and Stormbreaker, who are absolutely killing it on Mixer. So we're going to hear firsthand from them some of the struggles that they face, the obstacles that they've overcome, stories, and all that fun stuff. But I'm going to hand the floor over to them. They're going to introduce themselves. They're going to talk about their channel a little bit, tell you what they're streaming, and what their immediate goals are coming back, from convention, heading into the quote-unquote game season with all the new games dropping and all that jazz. So I'll let Asikaa start off first.
Cool. I'm just watching Storm have a giant happy face above his head. But yeah, my name is Asikaa. Me and Henley have played together quite a bit, so most of y'all should know me. But yeah, I've been full time since April. I've been streaming for about 5 years, and I've always focused on providing a positive community for people to just come in because there's a lot of hate and a lot of crap in the world, and especially being an openly gay streamer. And I'm not saying that other groups don't get hate too, because I definitely know that other groups get hate as well. But being an openly gay streamer, I definitely get targeted a lot. And my focus was to just create a safe place for people of a variety of disabilities, groups, whether it's straight, gay, lesbian, trans, whoever you are. I just wanted to create a safe place for people to hang out. So that was kind of my goal when I started streaming, and what I continue to do now. And what I've been streaming lately, I've been kind of all over the map. I've been doing World of Warcraft Classic, which is the original vanilla servers. So that's been interesting, getting to do something that I didn't do while streaming because I wasn't streaming yet when I first started playing WoW. So being able to just show my community my roots is pretty awesome. And then I do the typical shooters, playing the COD beta this weekend, playing Fortnite still, and what else? CS:GO. That's kind of it. That's me.
Nice. All right, Storm.
Similar to Asikaa, it's kind of turned into basically a safe haven where I like to just bring people in from anywhere, from any walks of life. Everyone I feel like is welcome, and everybody's got their stuff going on, so it's kind of a nice place for everyone to kind of just chill out and feel welcome and have a good time and develop a community. But let me see. Sorry, guys, I'll turn myself up. But that is kind of where it has ended up. When it started out, I was basically just a bartender and an actor. And Ice, you can't hear me? I'm sorry, guys. Did it work? Did I work it? Did it work? Okay, cool.
Yeah.
But basically, I was just bartending and acting, and my brother, who's a streamer on Mixer, was like, dude, this is really cool. This is something I feel like you'd like, knowing your personality and what you're doing in life. This is something I feel like you'd be really good with. So I started to watch Mixer. I didn't know anything about anything, really. I didn't know really what streaming was, or that it was a thing. I just was a gamer, doing a lot of stuff like that. So he was like, you could literally, if you're going to be gaming anyway late at night after you're bartending, you might as well just be doing this, and you're in front of a camera anyway. This is what you're trying to do. So I started watching Mixer and learning and getting to know people in the communities, and it was like, wow, this really does seem like something I would really enjoy. So then I started streaming, and it actually turned into something I'm more passionate about, probably I'd say even more than acting at this point. So that's kind of where it started, and it was like, I don't know, a fish finding water for me. It was me, I know a lot of people have found me and have developed the community, but it was also really powerful because I was able to find more people that were like my people as well. So it's like my friends, my kind of people. I feel like I relate to this community so much, and a lot of the other streamers. And there's just so many people that are really giving and have just really big hearts that come in and don't get to maybe some of them don't even necessarily know how to express themselves. And this was like that place where people felt more like they were able to, and it's really made like a lot more connections to me that are really meaningful. So it's weird because I can't imagine myself doing anything else at this point. Like I act, but acting is my hobby at this point. And this is my main passion. So it's really been amazing. But yeah, I kind of skipped the intro of like, hi, I'm Stormbreaker, guys, by the way. But yeah, and I've met lots of people that are family now, like Asikaa and everything else. And I feel like it's somewhere where I feel like I have a voice and just a family to meet and reach out to from all over the walks of life, different locations around the world, you know, and we all meet sometimes at conventions. It's really interesting.
Can I just say, I just learned that you and Crixus are brothers.
Oh, for real?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that until
like 1v1 for charity.
Yeah, that's the 1v1 is. I was like, really? All right, so thank you guys for the intro. I think everybody that doesn't know you, even though you're both infamous on the platform, kind of have a better grasp about what your channels are all about. But how did you start streaming? Like, was Mixer your first platform, or what kind of sparked the idea of like, this is something that you want to do? And what was the first game that you started streaming? Asikaa?
Yeah, I started on Twitch. I actually started streaming in 2013. And we used it as a teaching tool for our World of Warcraft guild. So literally just streamed, like I went on with my name, my World of Warcraft name. So that's how I got my branding, was the name Asikaa. That was my character in World of Warcraft. So literally like Twitch account, Asikaa, literally would just stream like raids and raided battlegrounds and everything. And it was like a way for players to kind of learn how to play. And back then, like, Twitch really didn't have much delay. There wasn't a ton of people doing it, but what ended up happening was my internet, because I was living in the States at the time, and my internet crapped out. When I moved back home, I just couldn't handle it, so I kind of fell off it, whatever, and then just got back into it, just because I was like really bored, and all my friends had kind of gone off in different directions, playing different games, and I was like, man, I just really need to grow my social circle again. So jumped into streaming again and started on Twitch, like I said, for 2.5 years. But like, you know, the platform is really great, but there was just a lot of harassment that I got, and basically no help from Twitch support, like putting in multiple tickets, and still the same thing's happening. So then I heard about a website called Beam, and literally did a restream one day. I restreamed onto the platform and instantly fell in love, and I ended up swapping over that day. We just restreamed it for about a week, pulled everybody over, and then yeah, I just like pretty much didn't look back, and yeah, here I am now. Like, it's gonna be 3 years coming up in December, so yeah.
That's awesome.
I think I answered it. Did I answer everything?
Yeah, you did. All right, Storm.
Mine was Fortnite. I actually started Fortnite. The first day I played Fortnite was the first day I streamed, and the first day I was playing on mouse and keyboard. So I did all three the first day. That's why I kind of numbered it, and I kind of just, for some reason, I continue to number my streams now, because it's like I didn't know when to stop. Like, what point should I stop numbering my streams? So at stream number 1, it was like, literally, this is my first stream, my first time playing Fortnite, first time mouse and keyboard, and I was terrible. And that was like, what, 16 months ago? So yeah, I started on Mixer, and I honestly didn't even know what Twitch was. I didn't know anything. Like, I didn't know much about YouTube or any of this world. So it was like a big, like, watch me learn experience that I just did openly with everybody, and it was kind of like a fun way to do that, you know. I wouldn't change it at all. And I mean, when the time came when people were talking about, like, some people were leaving and going back to other platforms or whatnot, that whole period, I just was so immersed in the community at this point with my people on Mixer that I just was like, I'll be exclusive, because I really love where I'm at. And then now it's like really getting more and more relevant, which is exciting for all of us. So that's where I'm at.
All right, I love it. So what do you feel was the biggest struggle for you when you first started? And then we'll kind of transition to what was your biggest struggle that you faced when you kind of thought about doing it a little bit more than a hobby.
I'd say the biggest thing, honestly, it sucks because, like, you know, people come in and they toxic in your channel and stuff, and not really having any control over being able to stop it. Like, I learned a lot of tools pretty quick on Twitch and how to stop it and how to control it and how to end it on my side. But then, like, it continuing to happen was really the biggest thing. And just, like, you know, I don't really care if people want to come in here and say stuff about me. Like, it's not anything I haven't heard before. Like, I was literally bullied, like, from kindergarten until grade 12. And even as an adult, like, obviously with streaming and stuff, like, we still get people who come in and try. But it's like, literally anything you can say to me has already been said to me a million times over. So you're not going to hurt my feelings. So that isn't what gets me, but what bothers me the most about it is the environment that it creates. And people come into my channel for the first time, and like a lot of people stay on features, they're like, wow, is it always like this? I'm like, no, it's not always like this. And it at the end of the day, it impacts your career because people come in and they're like, ooh, I don't want to be in an environment that's like this. I'm like, yeah, neither do I. Like, you know. So those are the things, and I feel like a lot of times too, like, people won't click into my channel because they think I'm a kid, which is like, they come in, they're like, yeah, I really, you know, I didn't want to watch your channel at first because I thought you were like a kid, but now I know that you're an adult and I'm really enjoying the channel. I'm like, why does that matter? Why does anything like that affect why you want to click into my channel? Who
That's
cares
really
if I'm a kid?
interesting.
You know what I mean? So that was kind of funny. And sorry, was the second part of the question like becoming full time?
Yeah, like what
challenges?
was your first struggle that you faced when you decided that you wanted to take it beyond being a hobby?
Yeah, when I took it, I mean, that was like back when, you know, I was still on Twitch and I wanted to become a partner. And honestly, the biggest thing is just, you know, how can I continue to be fresh and relevant, and how can I continue to make people want to jump into my channel? That was like the biggest thing. And I just kind of found, like, you know, every time I hit a wall where I feel like, you know, oh, my channel's slowing down, or like, you know, I'm not getting as many follows as I did last week. Like, I always kind of take those moments and I say, okay, what is something I can add? What is something new that I can try and do? And it's just that constant challenge of just, you know, trying to be ahead of the curve, but also like researching new trends, and just that's all the kind of stuff that I try to look at.
Gotcha.
The hardest part, the hardest part for me, I don't know, man. I would say just that was just getting the views. I think a lot of people get overwhelmed with the views. Like they look and they see that big 0 and they get worried about it, and they're like, I don't know, just overwhelmed by that, and it gets really daunting because you could be streaming for hours and you're like, no one's here. So I would think that that's probably the one thing that really, I think a lot of people relate to, a lot of streamers, they get down about and freaked out about. And I luckily I had a lot of friends already, and that really helped me out. So I would say, like, just being around other streamers, hanging out in their communities, and it seems like the longer route, but it's the more solid route to building a really sturdy community. So that was probably the hardest part for me. It was kind of scary. It was like, man, like, you know, you kind of feel like no one wants to see you, and it's like it kind of wears on your confidence. And I feel like that would have probably, that's the one thing I always try to tell streamers, that when they're first starting out, because sometimes that's the hardest part. You need to not pay attention to that. You need to just try to build your community. You can build a community when you're not streaming, you know? So it's like when you're in other channels, you're not self-promoting, but you're just literally making friends with other streamers. You're making friends with other mods. You're making friends with all these people, and you're helping them, and you're showing them, like, you know, support, that you're genuinely wanting to be their friends, you know? Like, you're not trying to get something from them necessarily. And if you're very genuine about that stuff, I feel like that's where my core base started to grow. So it's like those kind of people are the ones that will come and show up in your stream the second you go live. And that's not something that you gain easily. So a lot of people, like, we're in the generation where we want things so quickly, and that's kind of where I'm going with this, is like it's not the easy way necessarily, but it's the right way. Like when you're starting out. So
Yeah.
I would say that was the toughest part for me, but I knew going in, like, I love this, and I'm not trying to just get in this like quickly to get the easy, like gain. And if you're in it for the right reasons, then you're gonna do that anyway. You're gonna want to be involved with all these other communities, and that's where your sturdy growth will be. Instead of just like, never ever, please, for the love of God, never do follow for follow.
Okay.
And don't talk about your stream. I mean, and let me tell you something, like when you go into other streamers' streams and you're talking to them, you might actually start getting people being like, hey, Storm, when are you going to get on? When are you going live? And I won't comment openly out loud in that streamer's channel. I'll whisper that person and be like, oh, this is when I'm going live. Because I'm not trying to talk about my channel. You know what I mean? Like out loud. And it's something like that subtle. It goes a long way, guys. When I see streamers that come to my channel and they are all about the community, my community, and they're trying to help like be a good audience member into that channel, it speaks volumes, because that means they get it. They understand. They're there. They know what they're doing. And they don't go, hey, I'm going live out loud in other people's channel, because then it's like people will start to look at you and go, you have ulterior motives. You're not really here for the community. You're kind of just here for you, so keep those little things in mind, because those little things I think are what really helped me. And that was one of the harder parts, because it takes longer, but if you go that route, it'll help. I'm sorry, I'm running on a lot now.
No, it's cool. You have good
socially
points.
awkward, everybody. I think a lot of people already know this, but I just, this stuff is what helped me, so I would definitely recommend doing that.
For sure. Well, I'm gonna kind of like segue off of what Stormbreaker said. What do you feel is some of the best advice that you received when you first started streaming that you feel would be beneficial to anybody that's looking to get into streaming? I know we're going to talk about full-time streaming, but obviously you have to, dip your toe in before you get there. But what's some of that advice that's helped you the most, you feel?
That one, I think, I looking at your name, like something that you're excited about, advice I try to give too is, when you're starting out, you got to keep in mind, like, you need a profile picture. I think that's just something you like. If you don't have a profile picture, people kind of like question that you're serious about it. So I believe that, just the really basic things like profile picture and whatever your name is. Look, I know some of them say don't have numbers in your name. It doesn't really matter if there's numbers in your name. It just, to me, it needs to mean something. So you're making a brand. Like, this is something that you need to stand behind and be confident behind, because you're going to have people coming in your channel every day trashing it or talking down about it. And you got to be sturdy and strong and actually be really confident that, no, I believe in this. This is really cool. I really like my brand and I'm proud of it. And it's got to be something that excites you. So when you think of whatever that name is going to be, it needs to have some kind of meaning behind it that'll drive you and keep you motivated, that you can think of how to market. Like marketing.
Sorry for that obnoxious.
Say you get successful, like if you start getting more successful, you're gonna possibly have to turn it into a business, and you're gonna need, so make sure it's something like in the long run you can see that name being something that really means something to you and excites you. To me, that I was very excited about what my brand and name meant, just because I was a Marvel fan and everything, and I was like, oh, I love Thor, I love Stormbreaker. That was great. But it evolved into so much more, because to me, everyone like comes to break the storm. They would come to my channel to be breaking whatever they're going through in their life, whether it be like the harsh realities of life. And this is a place where we can all be in it together, because we're all going through stuff. So it means something deeper to me, and that's what kind of keeps me motivated to keep pushing through like the really tough periods, because we all go through ups and downs as streamers. I think we all know, like, we'll go through a slow period so. That's one other bit of advice I would give, is like, be really like motivated by your whatever you choose when you're starting out. Like, it be your name. Like, if it's your name, that's great. Like, there's lots of streamers that use their name that's original, and obviously it's they're pushing themselves, so that's great too. So, yeah.
I agree.
Think of like I always say, when people are picking like names for their pets, imagine being at the dog park and yelling your dog's name, and just like imagine how that's gonna feel, yelling your dog's name. But then imagine like your streamer name. Imagine being announced somewhere.
Purple Dolphin 299.
Yeah, your name is Stanky Poo 27, There's some guy on Twitch, I think his name is like Butt Juice or something like that. And I'm like, imagine like being on a panel and them introducing you, and the announcer having to awkwardly say your name, and then you then having to smile sheepishly. You know, some people are into that, but I think honestly the biggest thing like that I really like I learned, I was actually very fortunate to learn very quickly, is really like you never know who you're dealing with. So the way that I actually learned who Ninja was because he and I went toe to toe in an H1Z1 match one day.
Oh wow!
And I had no idea who he was, and we were like beaking back and forth, whatever. And as a joke, I threw out my Twitch link, and that led to some not so savory visitors to my channel. So I learned super quickly, you never know who you're playing, and to just always like, you know, just honestly be respectful, be courteous. Like if you sit there and you beak somebody off, and I mean sometimes it's fun to do, but if you sit there and if you beak somebody off and you swear at them, like one, it's a business. Like for me personally, like obviously my stream is a business. Like I don't want that person to then discover me and be like, oh, you're the person that called me a POS in that game because I beat you or whatever, you know what I mean? So the biggest thing is like just never, and like take it as a place to build relationships. Like my stream took off on Twitch because I killed my friend, and then I went in his stream and was like, dude, I just killed you. We played WoW together and we hadn't talked for months. Turned out he was streaming, and that like gave me a huge jump start when I started streaming, and we just worked together. And like, you know, now people who are massive partners on Twitch because of H1Z1, like Ice Prime, and like they all like recognize my name when I met them at PAX because they're like, yeah, like you used to play H1Z1 on Twitch. I'm like, yeah, man, because like that community was so tight knit, and we just focused on being so positive with each other and playing with each other and that community building. So that was something that I learned very quickly, luckily.
It means a lot of sense too, because I mean, another good advice that a lot of you, like anyone that wants to become a partnered streamer, especially, you never know who's watching, and that's something you need to really, especially new streamers that are just now like starting out and are aspiring to get partnered. You never know who's watching. You gotta be on when you're streaming, and I mean, this is something even the biggest streamers slip at, because it's hard. I don't think many people understand until they've done it. The fact is, like, you're on camera and the camera's on you like nonstop, and over hours and hours and hours it's on you nonstop. So it's like, that's something that you just have to keep in mind in the back of your head. You never know, there could be a staff member in there. There could be, and I got very lucky that a lot of moments I was having a lot of laughs with my channel, and we were having a lot of positive conversations, that staff members had happened to be there, and that's what helped get me there. Because I have a lot of friends that literally, they get frustrated, they got denied their partnership, and they go on a tangent or something like that, and they don't understand, like, staff doesn't just stop after they turn you down. They don't just stop coming to your channel. They'll still be in there. They'll still see you. So you have to constantly be aware that people are in there watching. You don't know if they're like, at this point, now that Ninja's over here, anyone can be in your channel. Like Mr. Beast could be in your channel for all you know. You don't know. You're live. You're like, so you just have to always keep that in mind. I've always got to try to keep in mind too, like even on 18 up streams, I still have kids that watch my stream, like even then. And so you really have to think about that in terms of your brand and what you stand for. And I'm not saying you can't be like if you're running an 18 up stream, I'm not saying you can't do certain things. It's just, you have to realize that you are like in the eyes of many people, and how you represent yourself, you just have to keep that in mind, like in that regard. So that's just something else I'd say, especially for people just starting out, because I've heard a lot of things about certain people saying things while live, and a staff member had happened to be in there. And it's something like, also big streamers want to host you. I watch small streamers all the time, and I'm watching because I want to host them, but I can't put my own brand and everything in jeopardy because I didn't pay attention to if I could trust you with that. Because if I host you, I'm basically saying out loud to everybody, I'm okay with this person, and everything they do, I'm okay with it. And so I have to be very cautious about who I host. So if you're not getting hosts, I mean, I would definitely like make sure you watch your VODs, see how you're doing things, make sure you're running your channel properly and professionally, because there's a lot of big partners out there that want to help little like smaller streamers that are just starting, because there's people that helped us. I had a lot of people look out for me that I still look up to today, that because of their hosts, it literally helped me. Like literally, I could stream for 13 hours in a day and I would get maybe 10 follows, and I'd get that big host on the 13th hour from some big streamer, and I'd get 100 follows like in like literally a week's worth of work because of that one host. Does that make sense? Like when you start out, it means everything. So you just gotta be wary about who's watching, and make sure you're always like being as professional as you can be, abiding by TOS. Make sure if you haven't read TOS, read TOS.
Definitely.
Yeah, that's another one I would say. Please like be wary of that, because that could literally make or break your channel.
Yep.
And I think too, one thing that a lot of newer streamers struggle with is finding their, I don't want to call it a stream identity, but to me stream identity is being able to merge your personality with being professional. And I think that that's probably the biggest foundation that anybody considering to be full-time really, really, really needs to make sure that they have established.
I always find too, like, I see a lot of new streamers diving into partnership as well. Just like they start streaming and they're like, they want to get partnered. Yeah. And literally, like, that is like, in my opinion, the silliest thing you can do. I mean, I know, you know, somebody like Storm, like he's been an actor, like he's been on, you know, long set days. Like he knows how to persevere in those kind of circumstances and still perform. A lot of other people, they haven't been through, like I see partners flipping out on Twitter all the time because they didn't really understand what they were getting into when they decided to go for partnership. And like, you know, I'm sitting here, I'm like, I was streaming for like 3 years before I started applying for partner, you know, and it was, I had time to, cause like I was just working with a streamer the other day on their partnership. And, you know, we were talking about like brand development, and, you know, I was kind of like, look, like I had 2 years to develop, 2 or 3 years to develop my brand before I even thought of applying for partnership. You've been developing your brand. You haven't even developed your brand yet. Like you need to develop that brand, and that all that work that you take time into doing, like all these things, you know, you got to develop those before you even think about monetizing your channel, in my opinion.
Even when you start to monetize. Also, yeah, I agree 100%. And even when you start to monetize, you guys have to keep in mind, if you're serious about this, you're gonna have to put all that money right back in to your business.
Yep.
Better equipment. Like obviously, I tell people, like some people start out streaming off like console, and it's great, but you have to realize, like, it takes, you know, that whole saying, it takes money to make money and all that stuff. I didn't start generating a profit for a long time. Like I had made a lot of money, but I hadn't generated really any profit, because a lot of that money was covering whatever expenses I did to start, and then on top of that, upgrades that I knew were necessary for my stream to be looked at as a quality stream. Because I mean, quality matters. When, like, think about it, like when you're surfing around looking at different streamers, what is it you need to really look at it from your own standpoint, like as a viewer as well. When you're looking at your stream, what is it that makes you want to stay in there, and what is it that makes you want to leave? And make, you know, like, is their stream so fuzzy, or their camera so blurry that you're just like, I can't stay very long, you know? Like, you really pay attention to the little details and put the money that you do make from streaming into fixing those details and making them even better. But don't necessarily waste money on, like, say, like, doesn't have to be like, you have to budget it. So maybe not the gaming chair, you know what I mean? Maybe not spend that money on a gaming chair yet, unless you're having some severe back problems that are causing you to be tilted on stream, then maybe. But like, put it towards the quality of what your viewers see first. Think about your viewers always.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll jump a little bit, because I feel like this not only encompasses full-time streaming, but streaming in general. But finances and taxes are really scary as a streamer, and probably, in my opinion, one of the hardest things to make sure that you really have your thumb on top of as a streamer. So what do you feel like some of the precautions that streamers need to take to ensure that they have as much financial stability as possible? Like, because obviously we don't get taxes taken out of anything. So how do you guys handle that part of it to make sure that, you know, come the end of the year, all of your ducks are in a row and you don't have anything to worry about?
Yeah, I would say the first thing first, like talk to an accountant, even if it's just go in and get a consultation or whatever. Let them know what you do. You know, if you're international, meaning you don't live in the U.S., you do have to be aware because you know, if so, I'm lucky. I can just go ahead and file as normal as long as nothing is taxed. So if Mixer was paying me and they decided to take tax, that would create a problem for me. But as long as they're just paying me normal and I'm responsible to paying for that to the Canadian government, I'm totally fine. But the thing people don't think about is like there's so many other things that go into taxes. So like for me personally, if I'm claiming my income, I also have to pay. We have what's called the CPP, the Canadian Pension Plan. I have to pay because I'm self-employed. I have to pay my portion. Normally, my employer would pay that, but because I'm self-employed, I now pay that. So that's an extra percentage I have to save. And there's also other little things that when you're self-employed that they charge you for. So you have to be really, really on top of. And really, honestly, the biggest thing, if you're self-employed and you're full-time, just save your money. Create a budget that's realistic and just save your money. Like, you know, maybe you skip that convention or maybe you don't buy that new game this time around. Like one of the things I did was I just started figuring out ways to get free games. I'm like, okay, you know what? Mixer isn't giving me a code for this game that I want. What are some other tools and resources that I can use? So I signed up for Keymailer. I signed up for Arsenal. I signed up for all these different places. And that's how I started getting free keys, and actually quitting my job saved me so much money. It's amazing. Like I don't go out for food all the time now. You know, little things you can set up, like Treat Stream. You can get your community to send you food. You know, you could use code Passion on Grubhub to get you a discount on Grubhub. But really, at the end of the day, like just save your money. You know, and don't go out and buy all the big equipment that you like. You know, over time I've acquired 2 computers. I have a Go XLR, but like I acquired that over time. I didn't go out and be like, I need the best equipment right now. Like
Right.
I went out and understanding what's a write-off. Like, you know,
Yep.
Go XLR. You know, I paid 600 Canadian for it. It's a write-off. I can write all that. So that's where meeting with an accountant comes in handy. Is you can meet with them and they can help you. Don't try to do your taxes on your own. I've tried the last 2 years and it's been miserable.
Save your receipts. You gotta
Yes.
get an accountant. There's no way around it. I knew about luckily I guess there's a lot that from acting prepared me. So I kind of had a leg up because I already knew a lot of this from the acting stuff. I had to get an accountant because I get like 8 W-2s a year from the acting jobs I've done and royalties I get. So I still, you know, I have a lot of mixed up, crazy tax things that has to get taken care of. So I just have an accountant because there's just so much you need to get taken care of. Just make sure you document everything that you do spend for your stream, everything, and make sure you keep your receipts. It's just safe. And then like what Asikaa said, save your money. Don't like. There's so many people I know that like, and it's the same thing I learned from acting and from being an athlete when I played college sports. A lot of guys would sign pro and use their signing bonus to buy a car or something. It's like it's just. Don't do that. Like save your money because you never know, like especially with a streamer, like I said, there's major ups and downs, so you have to kind of have yourself a safety net for when those down periods happen, or else you're gonna really shoot yourself in the foot. Like we don't get paid like on a regular basis. We get paid like every 60 days, so it's like a long period where you're literally like, you know, you might not see any money, so you got to hold on to what you have and spread it out. And make sure you're spending it very wisely. I did a thing where anytime I was donated to with Streamlabs, the first year I started streaming, I would all the PayPal money, and you could do it the reverse way. It'd probably be safer because PayPal is not as secure as Streamlabs.
Yeah.
But all the Streamlabs money that I'd make, I wouldn't even touch. That money I knew was secure, and I'd let it build up, and it would build up to almost $2,000, and I just have it there, and that was my safety net for taxes. Money, and I would take the PayPal money and use that towards the stream. So I mean, you should just always keep in mind the taxes. So just keep that in mind and just put that money aside. like however, so you don't even have to look at it. And Streamlabs was a great way to do it because I didn't even know it existed for a while. I didn't even know there was a credit card donation on Streamlabs, so I didn't even know that money was there. Like when I first started streaming, and someone told me about it.
I've done that
like,
before
holy crap,
too.
Right, exactly. Like I think all of
Like,
like,
oh,
first
wow.
starter streamers, like when we first figured it out, and I was like, well, you know what? Since it's there, I'm not going to touch it, and it gave me peace of mind knowing, okay, whatever happens with taxes, I'm ready for it. But I'm still going to make sure I get the most money back as I can by making sure I hold on to my write-offs for anything I'm putting towards my business. So yeah, that would be like basically voicing exactly what Asikaa said. Like save your money, have a safety net, and don't go splurging it all like as soon as you get it, because you don't know what the next month will be like.
Yep.
So
Also too, this applies for all content creators. It doesn't matter if you're a partner. If you're a streamer and you take donations, you have to pay tax on that.
Yep.
And PayPal is now reporting to the government's income that people are making. So don't get in trouble. Go on your Streamlabs, look at what you've made donation-wise, and submit that when you submit your taxes. Yes, you're going to have to pay more, but it's better than going to jail.
right.
And I think all of this is a really good point too, to throw in that with the different changes in the industry of like what's the the meta for a good streaming setup. Everybody I feel like right now is going out and buying a DSLR camera. Like you don't need those things to start streaming. You don't need those things to be successful. You don't need those things to be a partner. They're great.
Just get yourself the Logitech like the 920, like it's like what, $40.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I started with, and I used it. I literally just changed it this past month. So like honestly, like you can get like really good equipment. You can get yourself a really good Yeti USB mic and run that, and it runs beautifully. I just switched from that. Like I just upgraded.
Yeah, I was on a headset mic for 3 years.
Yeah. I mean, look at Coven. Coven's a great example. He still uses his Astros for his like streaming mic, and he's a powerhouse. You got to look at it like that. You got to look at like streamers, what they're doing, and if they're super successful without it, maybe that's something you don't need to jump on yet.
Yep.
Then save your money where you can.
Yep. Seriously.
So going off of this, what do you feel are some of the biggest misconceptions of full-time streaming? Like, because obviously, we all hear like, oh, open monetization. I'm going to go full-time. I'm going to be able to pay all my bills.
Man, like, I think really at the end of the day, it's how much you're actually going to make. Like, I had somebody come on my channel who was like, buy me Fortnite because you're a streamer and you have lots of money. And I'm like, I don't know who told you that. I definitely don't have a lot of money at all. But yeah, I mean, the hardest thing is honestly, it's knowing how, like, not knowing how much you're gonna make. It's just that like unknown feeling, and like, I'm actually extremely lucky. Like I have a partner who helps support me, and I wouldn't be able to be full time right now if it wasn't for her helping me, because at the end of the day, I was put in a bad situation with a marriage that broke up, and a partner who left me with all her debt and isn't willing to help pay it. So right now, while I figure all that out, I'm still having to make all those payments, and my job was making me absolutely miserable. And I was very, very lucky. I was like sitting there texting Koopa, just oh, I can't stand this, and she like literally gave me the permission to just say screw it and quit and just chase the dream. So I'm fortunate. So, if you guys are with a person who is supportive of streaming, that can possibly be, something that helps you out as well. But, that unknown thing, and again, that's where diversifying your income sources, you can't just rely on subscriptions 100%. Like, I have a very loyal group of people who are constantly gifting, who are constantly subbing. And honestly, like, without them doing that, like, I wouldn't be able to do what I do. And that's the thing, is like, okay, so like we're kind of in a weird situation where like we don't have a price tag attached to us. I mean, we have the sub button, but like we don't have a price tag attached to what we sell. It's kind of just, it's so open-ended. So you literally have to sit here and go, okay, how can I market myself to people for them to watch me? And like, how do I make money off of that, right? So you're getting people You're getting people to sub to you. You're getting people to tip you. You're getting people to buy games off you. Like it's a big rigmarole, and you never know though. And there's slow mon, you know. So that's where the saving your money comes in, right? Like we talked about, it's the slow month, and then okay, how do you capitalize off opportunities? Maybe you get hosted by Ninja, and you all of a sudden have 10,000 people watching. You know, how do you capitalize off that and continue that train moving forward? You know, it's a big question mark a lot of days, and I feel like a lot of times sometimes you're playing catch up. But you know, if you can sit there and look at things and research and just, you know, keep your finger on the pulse of what's growing and changing in this industry, you know, you can do really well. If you sit back and just let things roll over you, like, you're not going to do well, unfortunately, and that's just the way of the world.
I think that's where the importance of expanding your brand beyond streaming comes into, especially now with streaming becoming so mainstream, it's becoming more saturated, and just having other avenues to pull income from besides subs or donations. You know, whether somebody decides to write a book or make classes or, you know, something like that, or even get their foot in the door to be a bigger part of the industry, not just streaming.
Yeah, I mean, Patreon is actually, if you guys haven't looked into Patreon, I really, really recommend it. I just started it, and already in my first 3 days, like, it's actually been monumental. Because, like, the way that I look at it is I look at all the bills that I have to pay for the month, and I'm like, I don't care how much I gotta make. I'm like, this is how much I have to make. This much money. I don't care about the rest or the extra. Like, this is all I care about making. So having Patreon set up, and really, like, my focus with that, too, was, like, I'm gonna find a way to give back to people. So like adding people to my auto host if they sub to it, giving like trying to like shave some time out of my day to like provide people with advice and tips so that they can be successful, you know. And that was the big piece of it. Like, I'm like, I don't want to, because you can't help everyone at the end of the day. Like, I can't help every single person, but I can at least help a few people. And honestly, you know, I want to invest my energy in people that are invested in me as well. So this was like a great way to be like, look, you know, you appreciate me, I appreciate you, like, let's help each other out.
Yeah, another little trick too is you just gotta find ways to grind and scrap, because it all adds up. Like support creator code is a good example that Epic Games was kind enough to do for a lot of streamers. Like that was a really cool one. They don't really have that high of a standard for people to get the support creator. So it's great to get that. It's the Amazon affiliate. I haven't even done this yet, and
I haven't
it's something
either.
I need to do. But if you get an Amazon affiliation, guys, basically what that is you can like put your specs of your stream. So I could put my camera, like a link to my camera, a link to my monitors, a link to my keyboard, my entire setup. I can link it to Amazon, and if I have an affiliate, if they go from your link to Amazon, you get paid. And even if they don't buy the product, they could literally use your link, go somewhere else and buy something random, and you're still getting paid a percentage. So that's like little tips like that, little like ways to get in to make just a little bit here, a little bit there, make it so you can like survive. Because I mean, if it's just off of subs, it won't work. It just won't, like, not with the way it's set up right now. We have to find ways to do other things. So Patreon, like a lot of that stuff will help you. There's endless possibilities out there, guys. I would highly recommend, you know, if you're a serious streamer, like what I'm doing right now is I'm trying to make sure I establish my YouTube channel. So you're creating a bigger, broader like market for yourself. Not necessarily saying stream on a bunch of platforms. I'm just saying you need to look at like the big picture. You don't ever want to depend on, like, what I tell people is I don't ever want to depend on my platform. I want my platform to depend on me. I want them to be like, we really need you to stay on here because you're bringing people here. Like, that's the level I want to play at. I don't want to be like, oh man, they took Sparks away, I'm so upset with you. Like, no, I want to be, I don't.
And we heard that. We heard that a lot.
You know what I mean? Like, yeah, and it stings, but if people like, I'm actually glad they took Sparks away, because there was so many people coming here that were literally taking advantage of Microsoft and the program, and they weren't here for the right reasons. And they literally were basically just, I don't know, they're just bad apples ruining it for a lot of everyone else. Like, Mixer was trying to do something good for partners. They were trying to do something good for everybody, And you know, like that whole saying, this is why we can't have nice things, you know, it's kind of like that in a way. Like, you know, like there's people that will come in and abuse the system, and honestly, we all knew it wasn't going to last, but it was great while it lasted, and it lasted actually a lot longer than I thought it would. And I mean, and the cool thing about this platform, which I love, is that they constantly are looking for ways to take care of partners and to take care of streamers. I mean, the fact that they're opening up monetization without you being a partner just shows that, like, they do care. They do want this to be something where people can come to and actually make a living. I do think this is where we're heading in the future. And it's exciting, but at the same time, it's like the Wild West, and you have to keep your eyes open to what's happening around you, where things seem to be heading, as far as like, okay, I could see this becoming something in the future. I'm going to focus on that. And you got to just be smart with your career if this is what you're serious about.
Yeah, and even still, like, you know, looking at monetization for all, you know, it's tough because like there isn't a big sub community on Mixer, you know, so as a partner, it does create fears for me, because at the end of the day, I'm like, you know, there's barely anybody subbing really compared to Twitch.
Right.
Like that community on Twitch, if you like somebody, you sub to them and you buy bits and you donate to them. That is Twitch culture.
Right.
On Mixer, it's not so much that way. So, you know, I know a lot of people are excited about monetization, but like, just take a second and really think about your channel and really think of how many people you actually think will sub to you before you chase monetization. Because you'll sit, like, I sit there and I see people on Twitch who struggle to get affiliate, and I'm like, affiliate is like 50 follows and 3 viewers. If you can't get that yet, you shouldn't be thinking of monetization. You need to sit there and look at your channel and be like, okay, what am I doing wrong that people don't want to stick around and they don't want to invest in my channel? Like, that, in my opinion, is what open monetization should be encouraging people to do. To look at their channel and be like, oh, okay, I really only have like 3 people in my channel. So what can I do to increase that number? And that's honestly what I'm thinking about all the time too, because you got to think of that pool, that potential pool of, I don't even know what you want to call it, if it's profit or viewers or whatever. You know, you're going to have more fishing rods, we'll say, going into that pool and pulling fish out, you know? So it's going to be interesting to see how, and I'm hoping, though, my big hope for this is that it's going to increase subculture on Mixer as well.
Hopefully.
That is my big hope for
Hopefully.
the open monetization.
I feel like a good thing to point out too is that Mixer's not quite on par with Twitch as far as volume and as far as monetization options. And until we get to that level, I feel as Mixer streamers, not even partners, full-timers, I feel like you need to be a little bit more resourceful in figuring out what you need to do in order to support your channel. So, and I think it'll take a little bit of time until we are on that level.
Yep, 100%.
I mean, it's like that high risk, high reward type scenario. I mean, like, think about all the people who got in early with Twitch, like Ninja and all of them. I mean, the ones that got in, the sooner you got in, the better chances you have of getting somewhere that you may not have been able to get to. Like, it's almost impossible to be seen on Twitch because of how much you'll get buried by like all the other channels above you, and your discoverability is just out the window. It's super difficult, and you gotta just find ways to be smart. And I'm not saying it's impossible to get noticed on Twitch. I'm just saying that these algorithms on a lot of these different things of these established channels are very, very difficult to get seen, get noticed. And it like politics and everything, as soon like the more things grow, always takes hold of something. And it's an exciting time on Mixer because it is so new and early, and the risks are higher, but the reward of being here and being invested is also a much higher chance of a higher reward. So it's a give and take when you're looking at it. But you always just have to be thinking smart. You got to be thinking of, how can I do the right things here? And I mean, and I know I totally agree with what Trez is saying too, because it's like, you got to be entertaining and you got to love doing it. If you don't love doing it, this is definitely not a good thing to do. There's way better ways to make money. Because you're not going to necessarily make money in this. And even if you do it, there's no guarantee it's going to be very much. But if you love doing it, then it's worth it because you're doing something you love. But when you're doing something you love, it comes at a price. You have to work even harder than you do at a regular job. You have to literally invest so much extra time into it. It's not a 9 to 5. It's literally like an all day and night.
24/7.
Exactly. It's nonstop because that's the price you have to pay to be doing something that maybe you enjoy, and it's not just something to cash out on. So you won't know. And as far as being entertaining goes, my advice to that, I don't know. I still can't tell you guys exactly pinpoint why people follow me or why they watch me. You don't know until you do it. And my advice is to just be yourself, be original, be open, honest, try to be empathetic to everyone around you, and look at things through their point of view, and loving, and just have fun at like relating to them, and don't pay attention to the negative parts. Just really put your emphasis on the positive parts, and don't just stay there. A lot of people say be yourself, and that's great, but the entertaining thing is the fact that you're evolving and they see it, and you're growing. Like, you and the community are growing, and you're becoming something bigger. So it's constantly focusing on that. So that's, as far as being entertaining goes, yes. And you'll learn what's working and what's not working fairly quickly. It's the same with like stand-up comics. They'll go on stage and bomb like over and over and over again, and they'll tell maybe one joke that got a laugh. They'll just use that joke and they'll drop the others, and they start building an act. And that's kind of like how streaming is. You start building on the things that did work, and you keep focusing on those, and you test new things, and if they work, that's great. And it's just it's a constant trial and error, learning from your mistakes and your failures. So yeah, I don't know, I kind of trolled on that one.
I feel like too, even as full-time streamers or partners, or even what some people would consider successful streamers, you still have bad days.
Yeah. Yeah.
And sometimes they hit consecutively.
They know. There's definitely no denying that one.
On Twitch, I went 3 months without a single follow once. 3 months. Take in how many days that is. 90 days of not a single follow.
Yeah, games dry up, and
I just
it's rough.
Stuck with it, man. And then the first month I started getting follows again, 120 follows in that month. And that was a lot back then for Twitch. That was like, but that I worked my ass off for every single one of those follows. And the big thing was I joined a community, and that was where most of those follows came from.
All right, I like that we're kind of segueing into that, because there's two really important things that I want to touch base on now that we're transitioning out of the finances is the scheduling. So scheduling, obviously we know, is more than just when you hit the go live button and end stream. Like, there's a whole other mess of stuff that you have to do behind the scenes, like networking, making sponsor requirements, touching bases with your sponsors, being involved in the community, charity streaming. And as we know, when you're full-time, your window of being able to do all these extra things becomes smaller and smaller. So what kind of schedule do you guys try to keep for your stream, and how do you feel like you divvy up your time, and is there anywhere that you wish that you could give more time to?
Oh man,
I know that's a loaded question.
I fly by the seat of my pants right now, to be honest. Like, my goal right now is to try to ensure I do daily streams. And then honestly, you know, when I was going into full time, like, I just had a good talk with some other full time streamers, and they're like, literally, like, you know what? They're like, don't even worry about putting a schedule graphic up, because honestly, like, if you're not doing anything else, you're gonna be streaming. And really, at the end of the day, like, I look at myself and I go, okay, am I tired? Yeah, I'm tired. I need to take a day off, catch some sleep. But then making sure, okay, so I'm gonna sleep from like this time to this time, and then this is the time I'm gonna spend the rest of my day. And it's, you know, sometimes I even get Kupo come up. She's like, okay, you need to take a day off so that we can hang out. I'm like, okay, I'll do that. Right. And it's that big piece of like not burning yourself out, which I was talking about earlier with some people who haven't been streaming for a long time, and then they come in and they're like, oh God, I've burnt out because I've just done this nonstop for 6 months and I'm tired. It's like, man, get some hobbies, go to the movies, go out for dinner, whatever it is you got to do, and just find something that you love to do outside of streaming as well, whether it's exercise or whatever. And then the other thing, if it will come back into my head, yeah, just like Storm said, diversifying YouTube, focus on your YouTube. Like, if Snapchat's your thing, Snapchat, Instagram, Twitter, you know, I'm horrible. If you go through my Twitter feed, I tweet way too much, man. Like, I need a Twitter anonymous or something like that. I honestly, I don't have it figured out. I'm gonna be honest about that. But at the end of the day, if you guys just always be productive, focus on being productive, even if it's not something you think that is gonna help immediately. As long as it's something that's still productive, hell, maybe it's cleaning your room so that you feel better mentally. Just be productive.
That's the hard question because I don't ever want anyone to put their health at risk. Or anything like
Right?
that. It's such a difficult question to answer because the way I did it, I can't tell people to do it that way. It's not healthy and it's dangerous. But I went at it every single day for like nonstop. Even now, it's not. I've cut back a little bit. I've gotten a little bit better at trying to hold myself up. But you really, first of all, you gotta love it, but you gotta be smart. It's not easy, but I stream every day, and consistency is so key. Even if you can't stream every day, you need consistency so your audience and your community knows that this is when you're here and they can expect around there. Like my audience kind of has an idea. I don't have a set schedule really laid out. I think it might say one, but it's very general. I even say it's general. Like, okay, it's going to be around this time and it's going to end around this time every day. And some days I'll just tweet out, I'll put in Discord, hey, I'm not on, and I let people know so that, that they're aware. And that's how I've handled it. As far as your health, it's hard to explain, and I wouldn't have known it until I experienced it. It's definitely one of the most challenging things I've ever experienced. Your health, not just physically but mentally, will take a massive hit and toll, especially when you adjust to this kind of lifestyle. If you're really pushing yourself, and you have to have that awareness to not let it get the best of you. Like, you'll have your dark days, and you need to understand that you do still need to get yourself outside every now and then, get actual fresh air. You need to take breaks and stand up and make sure you're not just sitting for long hours. You need to set up, maybe get yoga classes or go to the gym. You need to set up a schedule to where you allow yourself time to be physically active, because it will take a massive toll on you. So those are super important things I have to say. Like, I know it's like a lot of people don't want to hear, they don't want to do it. A lot of us find it very hard, but it will get worse and harder the more you treat. If you constantly just sit and you're constantly eating junk food while you're streaming, and you're doing that day in and day out, and your grind is great, you will have a breaking point, and you have to make sure, like, you will be in a better mental place if you take care of yourself, if you work out before your streams. Crix was doing it for such a long time. He would literally get up at like 6 a.m. and I couldn't do this. And everyone would say he'd go to bed like an old man because he'd end his stream early. No. Crix is my brother, and he would go to the gym, and then he'd stream, and then he'd end his stream early and take care of his other stuff. And he was on a great growth path, and his schedule was great. I mean, and obviously it changes too. I know a lot of big streamers like to test the waters of, okay, what's my late night community like? What's my, and they adjust things just to see if they can hit a new audience. All that's a little trial and error, but I would say it's extremely, like, for your mental sake, for your physical health, for everything, like, you have to make sure you stay as active as you can. I mean, even if it's just working out 3 times a week, I'm just saying, like, make sure you're doing that, drinking plenty of water, because it's crazy how much you don't think about it. If you're not drinking enough water because you're just sitting there all day streaming, that'll take a toll on you. Like, so yeah.
Voice,
oh, Rocker, exactly. Yeah, Rocker even said it.
Yep.
It's so crucial, guys. So I mean, I'm only putting so much emphasis on it because, trust me, your audience can tell.
Yeah.
Your audience can tell when you're getting more and more, like, not healthy. They can see it. Yeah.
Oh, so something. It's quiet.
Yep.
Yeah, it's funny because, like, every time, I talk to a kid and they tell me that they want to be a YouTuber, they want to be a streamer, I just tell them,
I was
like,
muted.
look, like, Oh, what?
I was muted.
Whoa.
Oh, you can hear
Whoa.
we could hear
It
you.
played on my
anyone that
speaker.
was
Yeah,
on-
anybody that was
stream audio
hearing through
on.
their stream could hear me.
Yeah.
I heard it. So yeah, whenever I'm talking to a kid and they say that they, you know, they come in my channel all the time, like, oh, I want to be a full-time streamer when I grow up. And I'm like, you gotta understand the impact it's gonna have in your life. You know, at the like I gave up pretty much every single friendship I had. Like, we're still friends and we hang out and whatever, but it's not like it was. Like, we didn't have the same relationship. We don't have the same relationship now as we did before I started streaming. Also the impact it has on your body. Like, my elbows are wrecked from sitting in a chair and just, like, you know, leaning and using my mouse or whatever. Like, I saw another, like, esports athlete comment on it, how they have the arms of a 50-year-old at 20. And I'm
You gotta get those cushy armrests. I had to buy them off Amazon.
I have cushy. my DX Racer. I have a DX Racer as well, and these are pretty cushy.
I bought them off Amazon.
I guess how I'm, like, leaning or something, man. But, like, it literally, my elbows, like, Koopa's will walk behind me. She's like, "Are your elbows bruised?" I'm like, no, it's from my chair, from, like, leaning and playing and stuff. So like, kids don't realize, and yeah, whatever, people make fun of us for being gamers, like, oh, go outside and, like, lift a weight or whatever, play a sport. But I'm like, you know, like, at the end of the day, like, I'm challenging myself mentally. I might not be doing it physically in this moment, but I'm still learning skills. Like, I have great reflexes because of gaming. Like, I have really great problem solving skills because of gaming. I'm a good driver because of gaming. But then these little things that you don't think of, like, my wrist has been killing me for a week, and it's like a muscle.
Arthritis is real too,
exactly,
for us.
and it's tough. Like, I can't put any weight on it, so I've been getting into bed very interestingly, getting out of the, you know, the bathtub, the shower, whatever, you know. And it at the end of the day, like, you know, I try to just tell kids, like, look, it's not all fun and games. It is work and it's sacrifice, and, you know, you gotta ask yourself if you're willing to make that sacrifice.
All right, so rewinding on what I muted myself for. I think one of the more important things too about mental health that a lot of people don't realize when they're watching a streamer is we can interact with hundreds and thousands of people every single day and be the life of the party, which you guys love so much about us. But when we end stream, it can be incredibly isolating. And that's scary. That's really scary. You can feel very alone. So to make sure that you get out, you go to the gym, like Storm said, you interact with your family, you interact with your friends, like, don't neglect those very important things about your life, because even though you're throwing yourself at streaming, you know, wanting to make it work, wanting to be successful, you're nothing without the base that made you. You have to keep that base healthy. All right.
I learned that with acting, you'll go nuts if you just make one thing your one and only focal point. You need, like what Rocker just said, like hobbies, something outside, just to kind of take your mind off it. And it's very hard. Like, trust me, it's hard for me to finish, like, even a workout at the gym, because I'm like, oh, you know, I need to fix this on OBS, and I need to do this, and I need to send someone this, and, you know, like, I'm like, all these things I want to do on my stream to work on it to get better, and I'm like, no, I need to be here, I need to be present with what I'm doing right now, and finish the workout, and it'll be there when I get done. Like, there's, like, I don't know if anyone else has that mentality. That's nuts.
A good
like,
point too.
Like, you literally can't even, you're so focused on that you can't do anything else. And it's good, I guess, because it definitely pushed me to get to where I'm at now. But at the same time, it's like, you gotta have something else, because if something goes wrong on Mixer, you know what I mean, or something goes wrong with just that one thing, you had all your eggs in that one basket, it could crush you. And
So
you need to
don't play one game. Diversify your game.
Yeah, Fortnite dies, you know, like, and I mean,
it is.
I've obviously have had to have loved playing Fortnite because I've been able to go through all the ups and downs of it. But remember what you're doing. It's not about the game. It's about it's about you and your community and them seeing you have a good time. And I've had many times where I'm having those down times where my community will, like, someone, like one of my mods will be like, we need to switch games, because I mean, it's just not, you're getting triggered, this game sucks, let's play something else, so everyone's having a good time, because that's what really matters. If you're miserable, your audience is miserable. They're very much a mirror. If you're having a good time, they're having a good time, and they can feel every bit of what you're feeling energy wise.
I think that's a good break into talking about burnout too, which every streamer experiences. And obviously when you're full-time in front of the camera, it's like fivefold for you. So how do you guys avoid burnout? And I mean, especially too, I'll cut to the chase, Fortnite is not as popular as it once was, and I, for one, who predominantly played a lot of Fortnite, I love that because it makes me feel so much better as a content creator that I'm not tied to having to play that game, that my community is excited to see other games. So how do you guys handle that?
I mean, I came into streaming from the mental health field, so like when I quit my job, I quit my job because I was so deep in burnout from being a caregiver or like a helper. I was so burnt out already, and like streaming was my escape. Now streaming is my full-time job, so it's like, oh god, have I replaced one with the other? But and it's funny too, because like, you know, your community can do so much, but your community can also be part of that too. Like, you know, my community likes to give me a lot of crap, you know, tease me and whatever, and sometimes I'm like, look guys, like, just please not today. And like, if you can tell, like, if the streamer you watch is, you can tell by our body language. Like, I can tell when Storm's like done with it all and he's really frustrated. I mean, he's very vocal, but he also, like, I don't know if it's because he's an actor or what, but his body language, man, like, I can always tell when he's not feeling it, you know what I mean? And if you're seeing that, if you like make a joke and they don't laugh like they normally would or whatever, like, you know, maybe it's time to lay off them and focus on building them up and reminding them why you like watching their channel and all that stuff.
And don't yell at us for not seeing your chat right away too.
Yeah,
on days like that, please.
Don't yell at us.
Please don't yell at us.
We're human. We're human. Storm, do you have
Storm?
I'm literally just like in full
right now.
agreement with you guys. Yeah, exactly. I think it's great. I look, I like Fortnite, but it's good that I enjoyed it because it wouldn't have mattered to me. I was playing what was the high trend, and I don't know if that's good or bad. Thank God it was a game I actually enjoyed. But if Apex was the highest trending game, that's the game you'd see me playing starting out, because it's not necessarily about the game. It's about getting seen and people being seen by my community and getting to know me and my community. That's what's important. Like, I'll play whatever, and it's good that I'm getting like, and I've been tired of Fortnite, but I was like, thank God, finally, its relevancy is dropping down, so we can actually have fun playing some other games. Because it's still like, as much as we love doing it, I've literally stopped my job. Like, I stopped bartending, so this is my job. So I have to make sure I'm doing it in a way that's smart and gives me some discoverability, so I can meet new people that'll be new members to my community and they'll fit in. Because if they don't see me, they can't join in with us. So it's like my responsibility that I feel of trying to get them to find me. Like, and that's why I was so excited when Ninja came, because we got so many new members of my community that some of them are even moderators now, that came over because they didn't even know what Mixer was, and they found us. So it's all about that discoverability. So to answer your question, I'm so happy that Fortnite was tripping up and making mistakes and shooting themselves in the foot, because it gave us the opportunity to play other games. I saw Minecraft was on a uptick again, so I was like, cool. I've always wanted to try Minecraft. I know many members in my community love Minecraft, that they always wanted me to see this, so it's a treat for both of us. And it was the same thing with all these new games coming out. And I mean, I'm very aware, like, I love Borderlands, and certain games you need to realize as a streamer, you need to know, how does this affect me and my community? So I love Destiny, I love Borderlands, but I know they're not the best streaming games for me. Not because it's not necessarily because they're popular or not, it's because I've kind of got some ADD issues, like where I'll get entranced in those kind of games, and there isn't any kind of moment where you can just stop and talk to your chat, which is why I love the BR so much. BRs made it to where I can be competitive, I can be in the game, but if I get killed, or if I'm just running on a run simulator in the game and I'm looting, that's plenty of time for me to look at chat and actually be communicative with them, and that's what matters the most. So,
I feel like it's harder in a story-based game to follow your chat without disrupting the immersion of stream. And I like that point about battle royales, is even though the chat moves faster, we're able to keep up with it better.
Right. Yeah. So that's like something I try to pay attention to as well. So it's a little scary because I'm like, I'm testing out these new games, but I don't know how long I'm going to be able to like really put myself into some of them, because it's like, even Call of Duty, I love Call of Duty, but Call of Duty is non-stop action, I mean, you really have barely any time to catch a break and read chat.
Especially if you're playing hardcore.
Exactly. So those games I love, and I'll play them with my community, and it'll be fun. But those probably won't be the cornerstone type of games, which is why I always go back to like an Apex or a Fortnite or something like that, where I can actually. Or the great thing about Rainbow Six is it's not a VR, but it's great because I can still be with my chat because the game happens fast, and if you get eliminated, you can focus on your chat again, and you can help your team out, and you're still very active with your community and your team. That's why I've always loved Rainbow as another game that I can play that's not necessarily a VR, so my stream doesn't get tired of watching VR. But keeping your channel on its toes too, it's very entertaining. Like, I still haven't done any horror games, and I know a lot of them want to see that.
Oh,
so
you need
it's
to,
like,
please.
Yeah, so just like those things, you know, it's exciting, and it gives you it breathes some life into your channel, because people are like, yeah, I want to see that. Last time my stream was going through it was about this time, almost this time last year, maybe a little bit later on, but Mortal Kombat, like, it was like something I never played, and I was really just having really low numbers, and it was the downtime on the platform, and it was like a good time for me to be like, you know what, we don't have to do Fortnite, we don't have to do VRs, let's play these other games. And my channel loved it because it was just something new, and you give them some variety, you know. So you always should test out other games, even if say Fortnite's doing amazing and it has a good number, you should always test out other games. But I still recommend, you know, be on something that's relevant, like still pretty highly relevant, so you can gain new community members and they can discover you. Which is like, there's a bunch of games that are highly relevant that have a lot of viewers.
Just get started now, because if you wait, like, you know, okay, so I play like Fortnite. I've literally, like, I'll tell you guys, I have been streaming for 5 years. I started with H1Z1. The first real big mainstream VR game. Yep. I started with H1Z1 when it was super popular, but I still always maintained additional games in my repertoire or in my toolbox, because at the end of the day, like, you can only hit a peak with a game. Like, this is the peak. Okay, I need to attract other people into my channel. Yes, okay, maybe let's say 10% of your view base is gonna fall off because they don't like when you play Overwatch. Okay, whatever, who cares? Those people are great. They don't want to watch this game. See you next time I'm playing that game. You got the other core people who are there for you because, well, one, two, like, focus on your personality. Like, don't build your business around one game, because nowadays, like CSGO is great. CSGO has been around forever. I know it's old faithful. I can fall back on CSGO. You know, I can fall back on a lot of other games as well, because you know, they're so constant. VR games, it's, for whatever reason, when a new VR game comes out, everybody abandons the old one. Like, there's still like people playing PUBG, but like, PUBG is now what H1Z1 was when PUBG came out. You know, you gotta blow the dust off it when you play it, when you stream it. But honestly, the quickest way to get out of a rut, if you're like, man, I'm stuck, I've been streaming Fortnite for so long, you know, I'm afraid I'm gonna have less viewers. The earlier you start, it's like ripping off a band-aid. Just rip off that band-aid and just start adding. And like for me now, like, I'll play Fortnite twice a week. When I was playing it, you know, consistently every day, now I'll play it once or twice a week, because at the end of the day, my roots have always been World of Warcraft. So like, at the end of the day, like, you gotta get people that want to be there for you, and then they go on this ride with you of like all these other games that you play. And like I'll play something and someone will come in my channel and be like, oh my god, I can't believe you play CSGO. And I'm like, who are you that you don't know that I play CSGO? Like, come on, man. It's crazy. And also too, then I get to like take that opportunity to teach people different games as well, which is really awesome.
I think more games too gives your community like a chance to see different sides of you, because how you act when you're playing a battle royale isn't necessarily how you would act when you're playing, say, like, you know, the grandma game. Which, by the way, I watched Asikaa play the grandma game last night, and dude, like, she had me laughing because she was hysterically laughing, and that's entertaining. You know, but that's something that doesn't happen. That's not something that happens when you play something like Fortnite. That's a little bit more mainstream. So being able to jump into those little niche categories too is always good. It's scary, but it can be rewarding.
Right. For sure. And don't look at it like negative. If you play a game that's not very relevant, it's kind of good for your own mental business, like, mind, to see, okay, who's still in here? That's okay. This is where I actually stand as a streamer, with my core community. Like, who's in here, as like they'll follow you. Like, say like down the road you get an offer for another like platform, and like and you pull like a ninja and you go to another platform because you're making a bonus. That's you have an idea of your community base, which is important. So when you do an unimportant game, don't take it like as a, oh man, I lost so many views. Look at it like as like, be productive with that response, looking at it going, okay, these are the kind of people that are going to follow me no matter where I go. Like, they'll follow me, they'll watch me play checkers. It doesn't really matter. They're here for me. And that's good for you to just know where you stand, you know? So don't take it as such a negative thing either when those days happen. It's just take that as good insight for your business. Try to always look at it that way and not take it personally. When people are in and out of your stream. Like, if you handle it with a business mindset, you can last a lot longer sometimes, because if you're taking things to heart too much, it'll wear you out.
Yep. 100%.
For sure. All right, so we all know that building a community is incredibly important as a content creator, and I think you guys definitely hit the nail on the head about talking about the importance of building up your core community and not just a community that you draw in because you're playing what's popular. Is, you know, sometimes those viewers don't translate over into other games because they're chasing the popular game. They want to see the popular streamers, they want to see the big streamers. So somebody that watches you play Fortnite won't necessarily, like Asikaa said, watch you play Overwatch. So making sure that you really focus on building that core up, I think, is probably an underlooked thing by a lot of streamers too, thinking that numbers just automatically translate into, you know, viewership correlates to like your following and your base, which is a good segue into sponsorships, because obviously we know that metrics and analytics are important to sponsorships, but a lot of people don't realize that when a sponsor is looking at you, they come in, they look at your stream, they want to see if your chat is active. Just because you have a really high concurrent viewer count doesn't automatically translate into success. So how did you guys know that you were ready and, you know, kind of went about the whole seeking the sponsorship route?
I mean, well, if we're looking at I personally don't hold any sponsorships. I hold partnerships. So
same, affiliates, sponsorships, partnerships. We'll talk about all of it.
Yeah, and the biggest thing one is like understanding the difference of those, which we're going to talk about later. But for me, it, like, you know, I got my first partnership when I had 2,000 follows, and like I just gotten partnered a few months before, and I was gotten partnered under the old rules, which was 30 concurrent viewerships, 200 follows. So that was what I got partnered under. And the platform was nothing like we had just had the Xbox launch, which was massive. Like, I can't even explain to you guys. It was the first time that like you sat there and you just watched, like I would just pop my viewer list open, and it was like a revolving door of like all these new people coming in and coming out and coming in and coming out, because now we had accessibility on Xbox. Like it's really hard to explain like how coming into the website when we were just Beam to how it's been now with Mixer, like it's changed. So like people that are starting to stream today on Mixer aren't having the same experience that people who started streaming on Beam are. So I came in, I had 2,000 follows when I got my first partnership, and it was with a local gaming chair company. And you know, it just started like, they're like, okay, cool, yeah, you're on this completely different website that we've never heard of, but you know, we're interested. You know, they came and they watched my channel without me knowing. And that mattered at the end of the day, because they said, you know, and also actually they provided the gaming chairs for GameWorks, which is a gaming kind of restaurant pub place across from where they do PAX West. They supplied the gaming chairs for there. So they were down in Seattle for an event, and they asked someone at this event, oh, do you know who Asikaa is on Mixer? And this person happened to know me, which was like another big check in the box for me landing this partnership, because at the end of the day, I was a very small fish going for a pretty big partnership. And then from there, like G Fuel was the next one I went for. And really the reason why I got signed on with G Fuel was because I'm focusing on face-to-face first and then reaching out. So I went and I built a relationship first, and then went and talked to them about a partnership, which I think was really the main reason why I got partnered with them.
As far as my advice would go, is probably like learning it now. And this isn't stuff I did. This is something I would tell you coming up if you're a new streamer and you're looking at trying to get, if you're at that point, If you got to ask, then you're not there. And I mean that in the nicest way. I'm not even sponsored yet, and that means I have affiliations, and affiliations, there's really nothing that great about it. I mean, we're looking at if the affiliation, you got to look at it as sense as they're probably gonna get you. You know your worth. Like that's an important thing, and the really good ones are gonna find you. What you need to do though is save yourself the trouble. Don't email them. Just don't. They'll like 99.9% of the time aren't going to get back to you unless you have some serious numbers. And the first offer is probably never going to be what you're worth. So you just need to be really careful about what you're looking at when you're talking to a lot of these companies and businesses, because remember, you got to look at what they're doing and look at their shoes. I mean, they're like, okay, well, we'll give you some product to be a billboard. Like that's kind of the way they're looking at it when you're first starting out. And there's nothing wrong with that. I wanted to sign with some just to kind of give myself a feeling of relevancy a little bit, showing people like, okay, I'm at that level. But now I'm at that level. I'm actually at that level. I don't need to flex. I don't need to put sponsors or anything on my channel unless they're paying me necessarily or they're doing something for me. That's my personal stance on it, because it's a partnership. And you need to know what your worth is so you're confident with that when they come to you, because you dictate what your worth is. So you always have to remember that. And business is like not necessarily the funnest thing, because it's like a lot of us, like I'm very personable and I have to separate myself from that when it comes to business. So you really need to ask yourself sometimes, is it worth putting my name out there and everything if all I'm going to get in return is a code? And if it's something you really love and you really believe in, and this product is something you've used your whole life, then by all means, because you're already doing it for them, you might as well cash in a little bit and let them give you free product and let them give you a code. So when people buy stuff from you, you earn from it. There's nothing wrong with with it. I'm not trying to knock it. I'm just saying, don't just do it just to do it unless you really believe in that. If you don't like that product and all you're getting out of it is a code, it's probably not worth it.
Yeah, don't try to get affiliate if you don't use the product already.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying don't go to these sponsors. Like, I think face-to-face is where it really goes down. I don't like emails. A lot of the time, they just kind of toss emails out. They don't get any face-to-face with you. They get a flood of emails from other streamers. So when they see that, they kind of just throw you in with the rest. They kind of look at it that way. If you meet them face-to-face, don't go up to them with any kind of wanting anything from them. You're trying to get immersed into this world. You're literally going to these places. You're gonna get into literally. I know so many vendors that I'm not even affiliated with, that I'm just friends with. I'll be like, oh, there's Bob. Yeah, we hung out at PAX. We went to the Facebook party. Really cool guy. It's literally like introducing yourself into high school in a way. Like literally everybody knows everybody. All of these sponsors and vendors know each other. They talk. So you have to keep that in mind as well. Be professional to every single one of them. It doesn't matter if you like their product or not. You got to remember that you need to be professional, be kind, make friends with them, go up to them and just get to know them. Be like, hey, I'm a streamer on this such and such platform. Great to meet you guys. I really love your product. Ask them questions about their product. Don't go, hey, so what do I need to do to get like a free headset? Don't do that crap. Don't go up there trying to get something from them, because they hate that. It's so it's desperate. It comes off.
Everybody always wants something from them.
Exactly, and they're so used.
Additional person.
Yeah, they're so used to people doing that because they get so much of that. It's really refreshing when you go up to them and you're just like, you get on a first name basis with them. You talk to them about the product. Maybe learn a little bit from them, like how are they doing in this convention? How's this convention working for them in other conventions? Just strike up be interested in what's going on with their business and get to know them, and then walk away.
They're floored if you talk to them about them and not yourself.
I can't tell you guys how many more affiliates I've gotten since I haven't tried. I don't even want their stuff. I literally have to push them away. They're giving me stuff, and I'm literally like, no, I got one of those. It's fine. I got one of those mice, and they're like, well, here, take this other one. I can't tell you how many times it's happened. Like literally this last convention, I was like, he gave a person next to me, another streamer friend of mine, he gave him a mouse because he said he didn't have that type of mouse, and I literally was like, oh, he's like, how about you? And I was like, no, I already got one. Because that says something to them. It means, oh, I wasn't standing here to get something from you, dude. I'm standing here because I'm genuinely interested in being in a relationship, like a friendship with you. And I'm actually here because we're both businesses. and we're having a conversation as equals, and I'm not here just like, oh no, I really want this thing from you. If they get that feel, it's a turnoff. But if you're just there, being there as part of like, they literally will come to you and be like, no, he literally gave me a mouse anyway after I told him that. He's like, well, here, just take this one. Like, I didn't I didn't want it. Like, I'm like, cool, I'll use it for a giveaway. You know, like, be, you know, and you just be respectful to them. Like, don't ever come with wanting something. Just go up to them and get to know the community. I promise you, when you're ready, they will come to you, especially after you do those things, going up and getting to know all of them and being friends with them. The right relationships will naturally form. That's some of the best advice I can give, because seriously, guys, it will move you forward so much more when you go about it that way. I promise you, you will get stuff. You will, all the things that you're trying to get, that's going to just happen when you do things the right way. So that's some of the best advice I can give you guys that I learned late, because I was like, oh my God, these guys, I see them every convention. They're really cool people, and they'll reach out to me. You know, like, when you're ready, you'll be ready. You just focus on your business and your growth, and don't necessarily worry about, oh, I need to go get these things. You know, like, those will come to you. I promise.
I think that's really good to translate over into gaming as well. Talking to community managers or reaching out to developers, and forming business relationships with them. It's the same thing. You know, don't just be like, hey, can I have a key? Or email them, you know, can I have a key? What do I have to do to get a key? If you forge these real relationships, and obviously face-to-face is way easier than, you know, to be 1 in a million emails, but they're more apt to seek you out later on. Like, I was really fortunate to be able to work with Bloober and with the Layers of Fear launch, and they sought me out. I didn't ask them. They asked if I was interested in streaming the game, and I was like, sure, okay, like, you know, that's great, I love horror games. And they're like, oh, well, Gun Media wants to know if you want to do, like, this massive giveaway. So they gave me, like, 5 packs of stuff to give away and 1 million keys. And it's just, I didn't seek that out. But when you present yourself as a professional and you keep that business mentality instead of gimme, 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 you're going to see way better results. And, you know, who knows who Gun Media is going to work with, or somebody like Bloober is going to work with, where they might pass your name on. Because that happens.
Yeah, never forget, like, just because, you know, a person, you know, maybe you don't know who they are, or you don't like them, or whatever, even, like, streamer to streamer, like, you never know what's going to be in the future. So even if you don't like a person, just because you don't like a person doesn't give you a ticket to be rude to them or to be an asshole, or, you know? Like,
that's a really good point.
You never know what position somebody is going to be in, and you just, man, just focus on, like, just be kind, be nice. You don't have to be friends with everybody, but at least be pleasant to be around, because at the end of the day, like, you never know who's going to come knocking,
and you never know who you're going to end up working with too.
Exactly.
In a situation.
And, like, I see all these people fighting on Twitter all the time and stuff, and I'm like, man, what if that person gets a job at, like, your favorite game, and you want to be involved with that, and they decide, you know what, man, like, I remember 2 years ago, you know, you said this about me, and I just don't think you're very professional. You can burn those bridges, and I see it all the time. And for me personally, like, it just reminds me when I bump into people who are super, like, mean to me in high school all the time. And I'm just like, you know, we kind of chat, whatever, and it just always makes me, when I bump into them at work, or, like, you know, they're serving me because I'm having dinner at the restaurant they're still working in, you know? Yes, you really gotta focus on those relationships, and like I said, like, you don't have to be friends, you just have to be nice. That's it.
All right, so I'm gonna throw one more question out there for us, and then we'll open it to our chats if they have any questions about things that we talked about, or maybe things that we didn't cover. But at the rate of growth in the industry, do you feel that being a full-time content creator is becoming more viable as a steadier source of income, or less, due to the increasing saturation in spotlight attention? And with that saturation, how do you feel that a streamer needs to evolve in order to try and maintain their level of success?
I mean, I feel like because, you know, esports is growing, and, like, people are growing up with video games, and they're growing up in this environment the same way that people grew up with musicians, movie stars, actors, all these other people. You know, I think it's becoming, because one, you can do it from home, so the accessibility is extremely easy. Two, if you're smart with it, like you have so many avenues to make money beyond streaming, you can dip into other things like as an influencer to make money. I mean, honestly, I think the smart and the strong will survive in the end of it. But I think that yes, like this industry is growing, and at the end of the day, if you're not paying attention to it, like anytime I get in a conversation with people who aren't gamers about esports, and they basically just crap on me and say that I don't know what I'm talking about, and video games, like the video game industry is already one of the biggest industries in the world. It's beating professional sports, it's beating other forms of entertainment, you know, and there's a lot of people that are going to be left in the dust because they decided to keep, like, you know, these, instead of learning about something that they don't understand, just continuing to be afraid and putting that wall up instead of getting to understand what's going on. And why are people into, because like I'll use the example of the Overwatch League being on TV. The number one thing I see on my Facebook is, why am I watching these sweaty nerds instead of my football game? What is this? You know, and it's like they don't understand that, like, the environment or the audience that's behind this. And it's like, dude, like, you can literally work from home in the video game industry. You can make content, like, you just got to put yourself out there. That's it. And it's these people who can't move beyond these ideals. Those are the ones that are going to be left behind. And the people who are embracing it and putting their name out there and getting involved with it are going to be the ones who succeed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
those are good points.
It's hard to follow that up because those are all solid, extremely solid points. Like, really just piggybacking on everything that she just said, it's so true. I mean, you just have to be thinking ahead, see the writing on the wall in a way, know that nothing lasts forever. And it's a crazy world and a crazy time we live in where, you know, back in the day, you could get a job and that could be your job your entire life. And that's not necessarily the world we live in anymore for most of us, where you literally just have to be just aware that things change and that nothing, even if things are going good, even like as a streamer, like some of us caught the wave. I like to call it like just catching the wave of when things pick up. Just because you caught the wave doesn't mean that things are going to change again. So you need to work even harder when you do catch those breaks. So whenever you do something and you're in the right and maybe you're making a lot of money in that moment, that's when you need to work even harder because you have that momentum. You have things working your way, and you need to keep your eyes forward of how can I capitalize on the next thing that's coming and how can I see it coming. So it's a very broad answer, I know, but you have to be thinking in that kind of mindset because you're doing something that so many people want to do, and it's going to just get more and more oversaturated, and it's going to take hard work. There's no getting around that unless you're like, and I say unless you're like really good at a game, but at this point there's so many people that are insanely good at a game that's even like winning the lottery, because not only do you have to be insanely good at a game, but you have to get seen by the right people. You have to get be at the right place at the right time. I mean, there's no guarantees of any kind, so you have to find ways to just be original with your content, because that's the one thing that no one can take away from you, is if you're being true to you. That's the one thing that literally no other person can steal when it's you. When it's your experiences that have like really shape the kind of person you are, and you're sharing that with everybody, and you're being that genuine person, that is something that nobody can really like steal from you or copy. So that is something you need to always go back to the core of when you're growing your channel and you're evolving yourself and becoming a part of it. That's something you just hold dearly, and when you're looking at the big picture of things changing, you go, okay, well, how does a person like me fit into this new theme? Like, how can I do something that will draw more people in and make them feel more involved? And you can't make it all about you. It can't just be, how can I make more money? Like that kind of thought sometimes is daunting because some people don't think in that manner to begin with. And if they're thinking that way, they just cripple themselves because they're sitting there like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. You know, like it's beyond me how to make money. And honestly, that kind of money stuff will just come if you're just doing something passionate that is affecting people in a positive light. I truly believe that you'll be taken care of if you just focus on those things. How can I do something that helps everyone else? How can I do something that makes my viewers have a better day? Because they'll come back if you're doing something that's literally they're enjoying and they love. they'll come back. You know what I mean? Like, if you don't, like, even the biggest millionaires in the world say, like, you got to be a good giver. You have to give. You got to be able to, like, you get what you give. So
that's why we do stuff like this.
Right. That we're doing this out of, like, I'm not getting, like, paid for this. I'm doing this because I really do. I love what I do, and I'm trying to help other people who might love to do it too. Yep. I'm just trying to help create a light to where people can find it, because I've been there for years not knowing what I was going to do with my life and not knowing what I was passionate about necessarily. And I've constantly searched and searched and searched, and I still am searching for a lot of those things. And when I find things that I'm like, oh my God, this is amazing, I want to share it so I can help other people find it, you know? And so that mindset has helped me get to where I am, because to the life of me, I can't tell you guys how I got to where I am. Like, just that was the mindset I had, and it got me there. And it was the people around me.
So long, honestly. Like, I'm such a like I'm not a religious or spiritual person, but like I just look at, like, I believe that everything does happen for a reason, and there's all these little things that happen in your life that just guide you to where you're gonna end up. And like, there's things I look back on sometimes, and I'm like, holy crap! If like I'd never done this, I would never be here. I would not be this. And you know, I sit and I look back and all like a lot of bad things that happened, but like I'm like, man, I went through that, and I'm the person I am today because I went through that. And it was horrible in the moment, but now it's like, you know, if I had never survived 13 years of bullying, I wouldn't be able to last 2 seconds on the internet. You know what I mean? Like,
it's
some of
true.
the crap that people say now, like, man, all of those challenges I went through gave me the thick skin that I have now, so I can put myself out there, and I'm not afraid to. And I'm not like saying, like, you know, and I've gotten a lot of flack from people for saying that, because they're like, well, I wouldn't wish bullying on anybody. I'm like, well, I don't either, but it happens to us. It's, you know, jealousy, envy, you know, a lot of people also just don't really understand how to communicate with other people, you know, and all of these things that I struggled through, they got me to where I am today, and I would never look back and want to change really any of that.
Yep.
You know?
All right. Well, chat, you guys have been amazing so far. Like, legit, you guys have been amazing. I know you guys are sitting on questions, though, so if you guys have any questions, now is the time to ask them in chat. It can be anything that we've covered, anything that you want to know about as a full-time streamer that we haven't covered. Oh, that's a good one. What do you mean when you call yourself a content creator? I've always wondered about that phrase.
Oh.
Go ahead, Storm.
Well, I think... yeah, go for it.
Well, content creator is very broad and open. I love telling people that, because we're not just gamers, and I hate when people are like, oh, you just play games and people give you money. It's like, that's not necessarily what it is. You know, like, you don't understand. Like, it's literally, you're creating content. Content is entertainment. Content is stuff for people to go see. It's literally like, content is just as much like something of art as people that go to a museum and see it on a wall. Content is just as much information when you watch TV and you see the news. Content is information. It's literally something you're putting out there to the world, and it's becoming more of a big audience. Like, that's something I think is so fascinating, is more kids and more people are watching streamers than they're watching Netflix anymore. And as an actor, I noticed that right away, and I saw that trend, and I said, oh my God, this is amazing. Because the reason I became an actor was because I wanted to express myself and share, like, who I am to the world. I don't know why. It's just something I really have this. It's you know, maybe I just want attention really bad. I don't know, but like, I want to share who I am and feel like I have a place in this world, and I want to feel like I have some kind of relevancy in this world. And so it was a way of sharing myself, and getting to act really did that for me. It was like sharing, whether it was someone else's lines or some other life I was getting to share. It was expression. And with streaming, it's like such a raw form of expression that when people watch, it's literally, they're seeing me at my best, they're seeing me at my worst, and that fascinates me. It feeds me so much. It's like, I've already made it. When I found streaming, I've already made it, and it was literally, oh my God. And that's, to me, that's a lot of content. anyways, but yeah, like that to me is content creation. So it's like you're sharing something to the world, like you're creating something for people to see and be entertained by, and that's the way I label it. Tika nearly, oh my god. Anyways, okay, I'll leave it up to Asikaa, but anyway, that's how I feel. That's kind of how I see content when you're creating it. It could be on YouTube, it can be anything. It could be just a recording of your of sound. It doesn't even have to be visual. But you're creating content.
We're creating content right now. We're not gaming.
Exactly.
And the way that you make content and the content that you put on is what makes you stand out from other individuals. Because at the end of the day, when we talk about saturation, and being able to be found and just like what is going to make somebody click on my channel over all these other channels that they can click on, right? So like yesterday when we were playing Granny Simulator, I mean the game itself is freaking content. Yep. But when we realized, we're like, oh holy crap, okay, so this game is actually super OP. Like we can't have more than 2 grannies because the game keeps crashing because it's in early access. So we literally we're like, okay fine, you know what, let's change it up, let's play hide and go seek. So we changed it into hide and go seek instead. And that is the difference maker when you look at, and that's why I don't want people to just look at themselves as I'm a streamer, I'm a person who puts video games on the internet. It's like, no, you're creating something at the end of the day, and you get to choose that. And it's pretty amazing at the end of the day that we get to, like, I can't believe that we get to do this. It's insane.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. I think 50 Cal had a question there.
There's a lot of questions.
Yeah, I know. I was trying to catch them and keep them in my head for you guys.
Who's the streamer you watched that inspired you to start doing so yourself?
I started watching, so I watched a lot of World of Warcraft creators. So Swifty was a big one, and what I liked about Swifty was he was the guy that you wanted to game with. Like, he was so personable and fun, and I just really was drawn to watching him make videos and watch his YouTube. And then what really made me, because I think me and Henley can relate on this. Being a female in the gaming space isn't always the most welcoming. So I was watching a YouTube video that Swifty did with a female creator, and her name was Panzer, who ran the channel Trade Chat. And I'm like, oh my god, like, there's this chick that does this. She makes videos and she kicks ass at doing it. I was like, holy crap, like, maybe this is something that I can actually do, which is what really pushed me to do it. And I'm trying to think if there's anybody else. Tim the Tatman, I just love his energy so much. Like, when I stream and when I'm putting energy out into the world, like, I literally just try to emulate him as much as I can, because he is just such a passionate, friendly, kind individual in the streaming world, where like I never feel like he's toxic. And I was like, man, that's the energy I want to put into the world, and that's who I want to be.
Mine would be my brother, because I didn't even know what it was, and so I learned a lot from my brother watching his stream, and then I got to know Arcanaut and Brittany and Covent and Jared, and I watched them and made friends with them and saw how they ran things, and then I started to realize what Twitch was, and I watched. Really, I didn't know. I was just like, oh, I'll watch Ninja. He's somebody people watch, and I just kind of was watching his stream, and then I started to fall off and started to watch Dr. Lupo, and I liked the fact that he was a little bit more he runs his channel and runs his business in a way I can kind of respect, and the way I really would like to emulate in a way, because he does shoutcasting. He's very family oriented. He's involved in charities, and I was like, okay, this is the kind of path, that's the kind of route I like. So I started watching him. But I honestly, that's just something we all need to do, is just watch lots of different streamers, watch a lot of different content creators, because you'll find things to emulate. Any art form is you take from each other. That's the way art works. And I feel like there's a very much art essence about what we do, where you can go see what everyone else does, and it can maybe even give you a light to be like, oh, that's a great idea of something else I can piggyback off that and do something for my channel. So it's you need to watch other streamers so you can learn anyway, and it gives you more ideas. So
we had another question about conventions, but I want to reel it in a little bit, because we talked about conventions a little bit, but maybe touching base on throwing out some good conventions for people to check out that have never been to a convention before in regards to maybe size and expectations?
I mean, I struggle with this every year because, you know, everybody always says, oh, go to PAX South, go to PAX South. At the end of the day, like, you got to look at what you want to go to a convention for. And, like, when I look at PAX South, like, I see it as, like, okay, I'm going to hang out with my friends. Yes, like, there is business to be made, and the businesses that are going are smart because, you know, there's a lot less competition, and there's a lot more, like, access and ability to talk with streamers and with other content creators and other businesses. So I think that's really great. But at the end of the day, like, if you're really wanting to see the show of it all, I would recommend either PAX West or PAX East. E3, if you can afford it. E3 is really hype because I feel like that is the place where I feel the most comfortable talking to businesses, because I feel like that is the time where they're most interested in speaking and working with us. That being said, you know, PAX East has always just been super successful for me as far as building relationships. It's massive though. Like, I think the biggest thing that we face, because we're people who do appreciate playing games online and being in our houses beyond being outside and in crowds, it can be tough crowd management wise. So, you know, at the end of the day, you just got to do what's comfortable for you. And it's like one of my really good friends has never been to a convention because of PTSD, because crowds are just completely intolerable for them. And it's like, you know, and it sucks, but they're being honest with themselves. And, you know, at the end of the day, if PAX South is what you got to do because you can't get into those bigger conventions due to just things like that, like, I highly recommend it because, you know, one, literally PAX South is MixerCon, let's be real. There's so many Mixer people there. Yeah. But it's just like such a good opportunity because, like, you know, people will sit there and they'll bicker back and forth on Twitter, but then they meet in real life. They're like, oh, you're actually really cool. Like, you know, online it's so hard to get perception and understand what people are saying, but face to face, like, you get to really meet the real person. And, you know, some people who you think are going to be super outgoing are actually super shy. So it's really important just to get, and also too, like, I think it's really important for people to get to know the real you at the end of the day. But, you know, it's expensive. Let's just put it out there. It's expensive. Unless you live in all these places, which is impossible, it is super expensive. So I didn't start going to conventions until 4 years into streaming, to put some perspective on that. So, yeah.
Storm?
Yeah, that's pretty much the same. I honestly, West is my favorite. West was the first one I went to.
Yeah,
it's
West
definitely pricey.
West is amazing.
I feel like West is such a solid, like, it's like E3 and PAX kind of mixed together in a way because it's big. There's a lot of industry there, and at the same, there's a lot of everything. And it was like almost overwhelming for me because I was just like, oh my gosh, like, this is like, that was the first time I went to one. And then when I went to South, it was like a good comparison because, just like Asikaa said, it's a lot more chill. And I usually, depending on the person asking me what to go to, I usually shape that answer according to, like, the person. Like she said, like, if it's like, if you need to meet more people in, like, community based and maybe, like, take it in a smaller dosage, then South is a great answer because it doesn't overwhelm you. It's very chill. You get to know a lot of these vendors. Some of the main heads of, like, affiliations and stuff didn't go to South last year, but they're the people that were under them did, and it kind of worked out in a way because I got to know the under people much, and then they would basically tell the upper people about who they met. So it's like, don't underwrite that. Just make friends with the whole company. You know, make friends with everybody. You never know who you're talking to. But yeah, when I look at E3 and West, I feel like they're the two that are, like, mega for your business, mega bang for your buck. Like, it's if you're going there with a mindset, which it needs to be if you're spending the money to go there, to, like, get to know these industry professionals, get immersed into this lifestyle and the people involved in it. E3 and West are definitely, like, the place to go, in my opinion. I haven't been to East yet. I know it's, like, just a tough time of year usually because it's really cold and
hey, someone that's lived there full time.
About February.
Right, exactly. So if you're like, and it also depends on where you live, you know. So I would definitely base a lot of this off where you live.
This all
and
goes into the
thing-
finance discussion too,
Yeah,
guys.
exactly. And same with what Asikaa said. Like I was lucky to go, and it was because I had people donate to put me there. I didn't spend my money to go there. I didn't have the money. And I had people that I was so immersed in. Like I said, my base community. I made good friends. I had relationships with these people, and they've been around. And they were like, "Oh, Storm, you need to go here," and they all donated, and they made me go. You know. So it's about having that core audience of people that are like legit. They're not just, you know, like follow for follower kind of people. You can't depend on that. You have to like literally develop a community. So that's how I was able to go. I didn't pay for it myself. And it was like kind of crazy because how much money that is. You almost want to be like, I'm just gonna put that in the bank and say I couldn't make it. Like, but you know, that's what they wanted from me. That's what you do, and it's a write-off. Make sure that you like your plane tickets and all that is still a write-off when you go to those conventions, and that goes into your taxes. Like what we were talking about for that discussion. So it all plays a part. So yeah, that's what I would say though. Is those are the ones I would recommend. West is my favorite. E3 is freaking insane. E3 is just funny.
That's true
it's
too.
just industry people go all out. Like they really get at E3, so it's really funny seeing how the industry is showing up. You're almost there, like just seeing it all happen. You know, they're coming to like show their wares when it's E3. Anyway.
Oh, I like those answers. I think that that's really important too. And to go back on taxes too, travel expenses you can add for your taxes too. So make sure you keep all your receipts and all that stuff as well. Like it's super important. I think 50 Cal revised his question and said, knowing what you know now, is there anything that you wish that you would go back and do differently?
It's a tough question simply because
it is.
I got to where I am because of my mistakes as well as much as my doing things right. So sometimes it's like I don't know if I'd want to change those things because I'm very happy of where I've ended up. Like I've done things like a lot of things like of course there's things I'm not maybe proud of, like I've said something stupid or spoke out of line, or I snapped at a viewer once when I was like in a really bad mood, having a really rough night, and then I regretted that the whole night, and then I sent them a private DM on Discord being like, hey, I'm sorry, I was out of line, like that kind of stuff. But it was also a learning experience for me, being like I can't be harsh on viewers no matter how rough it gets, so a lot of those times I get very upset with myself, and I mean I know none of us are perfect, but it's like you learn from those mistakes, even those little mistakes like that. So it's like some of that stuff I wouldn't necessarily, I don't know if I would change. It's just like as long as you're learning from your mistakes, it's definitely beneficial. I try to warn others of the mistakes I've made, but at the same time I wouldn't be able to give that advice if I
Man, you can take a horse to water, but you can't make it drink.
Yeah,
the industry itself is just a lot of trial and error
too. And to answer your question, I don't think I would change anything. I just try to learn from it and just keep growing from that point.
I would have quit my job a hell of a lot.
That's
really honestly the only thing I would have changed is really like just accepting, like knowing my part, knowing that like how successful I have been leading up to, like just so many opportunities I could have taken advantage of had I quit earlier. It's crazy, but no, I've been truly thankful. One thing I wish I could do a little bit better is I wish I could manage my frustration a little bit more. I think because like I said, like I do get targeted, I get attacked a lot, and I sometimes don't always deal with that frustration. So like people will come in the channel and they'll kind of like try to poke at me to like see what I do if they say XYZ, and I'll get mad and they'll be like, oh well, you seem really agitated. I was like, well dude, if you had been here an hour or two ago and known what I just went through, like maybe you would be approaching me a lot different. But it's like, man, like this person doesn't have a crystal ball, they can't see, so it's like I wish I could be better. But also at the end of the day, like I also don't need to be better at that, because if you're getting bullied and getting attacked, like you can't always control how you feel about it. So there's those kinds of things. Yeah, but at the end of the day, I wouldn't change anything.
I guess like what I noticed someone say this in chat. I guess yes, the one thing I want to adapt from and wish maybe I do a little better is like what we were talking about, taking breaks and going to the gym. There was a point at the very beginning when I was pushing really hard maybe sooner than later, it would have been more healthy for me to take like those like moments to go, all right, I need to go to the gym today before the stream. I need to make sure I don't stay up this late, like those things. I mean, obviously if I could go back, but I did learn my limits. So, but yeah, those things definitely keep in mind, because it's just like, man, like it was rough, but at least I experienced it. So when other streamers are actually going through it and they're burning themselves out really hard, I can see the signs and I can help them. I can be like, oh, I've been there. I know what that is,
Your last 30 minutes of stream, it never fails that somebody comes in and drops a big host too. So it's like,
oh, and that's when you pay back.
Yep.
Get them later.
Like, oh.
I'm always just super honest. I'm like, look, I was planning to end in 30 minutes. I really appreciate it, but I'm so tired. You know what? Is there somebody else that you want to spread the love to?
There's no shame in that.
Yeah.
There's no shame in that.
And you gotta tell them, look, I'm focusing on my self-care. I am exhausted. I appreciate you so much, though.
Yep.
Never forget to host, JT. Seriously, don't ever have your stream on downtime, guys. Host.
And I know everyone's talking about this.
And reach out to a new person and host them.
Yeah, and guys, look, I love music channels, and I understand why we host them, but we got to stop that lifestyle. I know we were doing it, like a lot of people doing it to keep their Spark farms going. They needed their streamer to keep on hosting, but we're coming to a time like it's just in my belief is I'm trying to stop all of the 24-hour like music channel hosting.
It hurts the platform.
Because I'm trying. I really genuinely want to host new streamers, and I will be, and I do sit and I do watch. I want to host them. I mean, there's times where I've hosted some small streamers and I had to pull my host off because they were breaking TOS, but I'm still gonna continue trying, like to help small streamers get there, because I wouldn't be where I'm at if it weren't for those guys that drop big hosts on me. Like that helped me when I was really trying to get there. Like it definitely is something where we need to be in it to help each other. And not to mention, you're growing more and more relationships. I can tell you, I remember which ones, I can tell you every single streamer that gave me those hosts. I can tell you, I remember to this day. It was over a year ago, and I still help them, and I still give them hosts to this day. And now I can give them hosts when their channel's struggling, because I remember. Like they helped me so much. I know how important that is. So that's something to just tell you guys, even if you're a small streamer, when you drop helpful hosts to like other streamers, they notice, and it means a lot to them, at least most of them, the ones that are really in it. So avoid the 24-hour music channels, because they don't notice. They don't, it's like that's not going to do anything. So
that being said, though, Monster Cat, if you guys are ever in Vancouver, you do want to go and try and swing by and check them out, because Monster Cat is based out of Vancouver, and their campus is located right next to Streamlabs in Vancouver, and they always do like this really awesome. So like for me, I'm a little bit impartial to Monster Cat because I've met the creator of it. I've met people on their team, and they do engage with the community. It's just not always in your face in a way that you understand. Like the Monster Cat people pretty much come out to every single Twitch Vancouver meetup.
No, I met them. I met them at E3. They're really nice. Nothing against music channels.
Yeah. So worst case, like for me personally, if I'm like, man, I need somebody to host in a pinch that I know it's gonna be up for a while. It's like, okay, guys, like host Monster Cat for an hour or two, and I'll be back. Like sometimes it just happens, but somebody sitting in a menu like rocking music because it earns people points,
it's not support. Well, I don't want to say supporting those streams, but hosting those streams instead of hosting your friends or your teammates or streamers that you dig,
doing something.
It's not helping grow and support the platform. It's just reinforcing that mentality that is acceptable content.
It's a bigger responsibility for us streamers, because we obviously are putting our brand behind somebody that we might so I take it very personal. Like I have to be very careful with it. When I host somebody, it means I'm putting my name on the fact that I trust them and what they're doing.
Your brand, everything.
So that it means a lot. Like the host means a lot, and I take a huge responsibility anytime someone gives me their host. I'm like, okay, such and such as people are watching me, I want to make sure that I make that friend of mine or that whoever hosted me be very proud of that and be very happy with that, and know that their community's in good hands. So always think of it in that mindset, I guess I should say. But it's a harder time to make it as a streamer, and I recognize that. So people coming into streaming now, it's like it's tough. You need those hosts. You don't have it like the Beam or early Mixer streamers had it, where you get one giant, 200 person host by somebody, and all of a sudden, boom, you're center feature. That doesn't happen anymore. Like there was streamers that made it that are huge now, that are like in the top 10, that they would get featured every single day. That doesn't happen anymore. It's getting harder and harder to grow your channel because it's getting more and more saturated. So
opportunities change too.
Right. We need to be in it for each other. You know what I mean? Like smaller streamers need bigger streamers more than ever. So, and I believe if they're like me, they will notice it, they will remember it, and it's more meaningful to help them get to where they're trying to get.
Going off what Storm said too, just because people hit partnership too doesn't mean that they stop needing the support. Because I'm gonna incorporate the question that's in chat to my response, where it says, all three, at what point did you feel that you finally had the mindset of this is it, I made it? We're still making it. We haven't made it. We're still making it.
The second you think you made it, that's when like it's over for you. Like you're always learning, you're always working. Like literally, like my motto is I'm always working. Whenever I'm in a situation or a mindset, like anytime, like I'm always willing to learn something. I'm always willing to just take on a new challenge, because like at the end of the day, like there's always somebody else who's a step ahead of you doing it better than you are. So you have to be able to take, your weaknesses and turn them into strengths.
For sure.
Yeah, I'm like reading it in chat right now from Louis here.
Yep.
Literally, like, a good approach to keep learning is watching what other people are doing, watching other streams. If I'm like, oh, I don't know what this app is that someone's using, what the heck is it? Like, what is a new way that I can engage with my viewers?
Speaking of Jeff's one of my first big hosts, and he's here. He just showed up. What up, Jeff?
Aw, thanks,
That's
Jeff.
one of the first people that dropped a big host on me like at 2 a.m. and helped me gain a lot. So I remember. I'm telling you, other streamers remember. They remember that kind of stuff. And as far as learning goes, you need to never stop. You've never made it. If the second you get comfortable is the second you give up your position and you get past, you never stop.
It's
never
an
stop. Look at
ever-evolving industry.
look at that's true for anything. Any business, anything. You always need to be looking for the next thing. And it's what's the point of really living at that point? I feel like once you just kick your feet up and say you're done, to me that's like devastating and depressing. To me, it's like I constantly need to be growing. I constantly need to get better.
You don't ever want to plateau.
Yeah, I don't ever want to just sit and be like, that's it. You know what I mean? Like retirement is never going to be something in the cards for me, because I don't like, not because of our economy, because that's just not me. So you need to watch others that are in the field with you. So I mean, I watch tons of content and see like how did the people react to it. So I'm watching other streamers, not just on Mixer, because Mixer's kind of in a safety bubble right now too, where a lot of people, they may have gotten here and they're just coasting but they got here early. I mean, and I'm not trying to say this to knock any streamer, by the way. I'm just saying it's changing, and they possibly are going to get hit with it, and maybe they know it, maybe they don't, but they've kept things the same, and they just were lucky enough to be here early, and they're not adapting. And that's just true for any business, like, so I watch a lot of the top Twitch people. I watch a lot of the top YouTube people, because that is a very established platform. And so, if they're there where they're at, they have to be changing and adapting and doing things constantly to stay on top. And I still watch a lot of Mixer, obviously, because I like to see what our community's up to. But we're still growing, and we're in such a baby infant stage that, doesn't make what someone's doing and they're successful doesn't necessarily mean that's something you should be doing. So really pay attention to the people at the top and what they're doing and what they're trying to evolve. Watch how they shift their channel or shift their stream in order to stay ahead, because they have people, a lot of them are very, very wealthy. They have a lot of important people in their corner guiding them, telling them what's ahead. And so it's good to try and see what they're doing, because that's a tail sign of like, oh, we're heading this way. Like if PewDiePie all of a sudden is doing more and more and more and more VR, I'm like, okay, maybe something's going on with VR. You got to think of it like a business. I mean, that's just a weird example, but I'm just saying, like,
they have like an insider view.
You need to pay attention to. Anyway, there you go.
No, it's true. Watching the bigger streamers too, you know, keep in mind, they still have those really bad days too. They sit there and they have discussions like this with their friends and their advisors. And there's, you know, there's days where they're like, am I really cut out to do this? Am I still having fun? Is this what I want to do? It's, those are very real thoughts, and they creep up on all of us all of the time.
Yep. And I mean, that's why I think that's just to get into like discussion, because this is interesting. I believe this is why Fortnite shot themselves in the foot, because they literally were like, no, we don't care about what these content creators have to say. And it's like, you're being ridiculous, because you're not, I know you're trying to get these kids to play your game, but you're not realizing that they're heroes. If they change games, they're going to change games. If their heroes start playing Call of Duty and say Fortnite's lame, those kids are going to literally say the same thing. They're going to mime their heroes and their content creators. They're going to go, oh, that game's lame. You want to know why? Because my hero, Ninja or Tifu, says that game's lame. So it's lame. And
we help mold the gaming platform.
Exactly. So it's funny to me that even the big businesses don't notice that they don't see the trends, that the fact that these trend setters have so much power, that they have so much power to say, oh, I'm done with that game. It's lame. I'm going to play something else. All those kids, they will follow that trend, you know? So it's just funny to me that Fortnite literally was like, no, what they think doesn't matter.
And it's interesting because like for H1Z1, like PUBG came along, and it was just like at the time, like to be honest, if I could go back, like the game that I want to play right now the most is I want to play H1Z1.
Really?
That's the game I want to play. But honestly,
cool.
like, cause it was my favorite BR of all time. Like, I just loved, like, when you were dead, you were dead. I loved the whole helmet aspect of it. I loved making stuff. Like, I played 1,000 hours of Just Survive before I even touched streaming again. Right. You know, I put a lot of time and investment into that game. And like, if I could have things the way that I wanted it, people would still be playing that game, and I could stream that game and play it. Fortnite really interests me in their kind of situation right now because they're willingly doing it to themselves. Nothing is
right,
exactly
the light away except for them.
Top of the field, and they're like, nope.
It's just,
how can we mess this up more?
Interesting, like, because I mean, even PUBG, like, I don't like playing PUBG. I kind of got tired.
PUBG did that to themselves too. I mean,
the moment that happened to it for me was the pace of the game. It was just way too slow, and I'm sitting there on a motorbike after looting for like 20 minutes, and then somebody came up behind me and shot me in the back on like when I was just getting off the heel, and I was just like, you know what, man, I just invested half an hour, and I feel like it's all wasted now. So that was kind of what led me off PUBG into Fortnite to begin with. And then Fortnite's a game where I can not play it for a month because I'm playing something else, and I come back and I have a great time.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And you didn't miss anything.
Well, Fortnite, they did things right in a sense. They knew that the game needed to like evolve. And I mean, like, with the people that were getting good at the game, they made it to where more people could get good at the game by making Playground and then Creative. And I thought they were handling things in the right way. And then they thought, well, no, we need to like take steps back, and because people are getting too good at the game, what about the people that aren't very good at the game? So let's like create more RNG, which wasn't the answer. They should have just continued the route they were going, which was, how can we make people learn how to be good at the game? Because that makes them want to invest in the game. And if they invest in the game, that means they're spending money on the game, and they're watching YouTube on the game, and the relevancy of the game goes up. Like, that's the right route, is to keep letting the game evolve and teach people how to evolve with it. But instead they were like, no, we need to make it try and keep it where it's at. And that's like you can see companies do that because they're so scared about losing money and losing interest that they attract their fears. And that's just kind of how we are in life as well. And that was their problem. And they I mean, most big companies do that because they're so invested with so much money into something that they play it scared, and that's the worst thing to do. Instead of just let it happen, let it evolve.
Yeah,
you already did it.
Hey, Alice.
No, they just crashed onto the scene, man. Like, think about when Fortnite came out.
True.
Like, we had no idea, and it like, I remember playing my first game of H1Z1, and like, it was heart pounding. Like, that, literally, that's why I played BRs, is because the intensity and the adrenaline was so high. Like, I just remember shaking and seeing somebody else and being like, oh my god.
Like, you're freaking out. Literally, it's like intense musical chairs. You want to be left out.
Exactly. And it was like the first time I saw I saw a Horde player when I was playing World of Warcraft, out in the world. Not like, because I was like somewhere, I was in the Stone Talon Mountains, and all of a sudden I was like, oh my god, that's a Horde player. And I'm like, all right, am I gonna attack him? Yeah, we're gonna attack. And then I turn around, I'm like, where'd he go? He's already gone. You know, and that's why I love BR, because like literally like the all those the sensations you get when you watch a movie, you know, it was all there, the heart pounding, the sweating, and then the competitive factor, and then I started to get really good at it, you know, and all of that was there for me with H1Z1. And I mean, Fortnite now I get like tense in like a clutch moment, but it's never been the equivalent to playing that game for me.
I feel that. And I feel like as full-time content creators too, streamers in general, but full-time content creators, like you have to keep up with the trends and in the know, and because all that stuff affects your stream, so you have to factor it into your business plan. Like, you know, like Storm was talking about changing games and, you know, creating that balance between what you actually want to play, that you're passionate about, but what also works with building your business. So watching this whole Fortnite thing unfold has been really interesting, and I'm not quite sure that they can dig themselves out of the hole.
Right.
Yeah, it was weird because like they listened about the sword, you know.
Yeah.
The sword made us miserable. They took it out.
Oh my god.
Mechs have been making us miserable for months, to the point where I've stopped playing the game.
Take them out.
They're still there.
I know.
After this season, I think there's some kind of thing that they just are being really stubborn about. Like they probably
they're in
made
the
it to
battle
where
pass,
there's a
aren't
story
they?
behind
And
it.
Planes too, but like I don't know. I feel like, I mean, Planes made me miserable too, but not to the equivalent point that I wanted to stop playing the game.
No, I think they invested into the story with the mech. I think it's different than the planes and the sword, where they've invested a lot for a head that shapes a lot of what's coming, and the mech was a big point of that, and they didn't want to pull it away because they're like, well, if we pull away, it kind of takes away all of the future stuff we built. So I think they're being stubborn when they need to be like, okay, clearly this is unanimously something that nobody wants. We need to adapt and change this and invest in changing it, but they're just being really stubborn with that.
Who knows? Who knows?
It's all speculation.
Yep.
All right, chat. We'll take a couple more questions. So if you guys have any questions and we didn't answer them yet, feel free to put them back through chat.
I
or
apologize to you guys.
Yeah, we go off on tangents that we're really passionate about, and then we lose the questions.
Yeah, we apologize.
Oh, there was a good one that I thought was kind of funny. What are your biggest streaming pet peeves?
Yeah, Dozy asked that.
I like that one. I know Dozy left already, but that was a good question.
I'll let him know when he comes back later. Yeah, pet peeves. Honestly, I hate when people come into my channel and all they talk about is their own stream. Yeah. Like, I'm not threatened by anybody or anything like that, but I just hate when, like, you know, and sometimes it's like not without any like intention to self-promote or whatever, but like it just frustrates me because like I'll have people parachute into my stream who just want to talk about themselves.
It's cringy.
Which is fine. You guys can talk about yourselves. I don't mind. But if all you talk about is yourself and you're not willing to engage in anything involving the community, meaning other members or myself, then I'm just like, I don't have the time for it. And I'm like, at the end of the day, you're just centralizing everything about you and how to fix your stream. And I'm like, you're taking away from my stream by forcing you into the equation.
Yeah. It's cringy.
It is so cringy.
You guys ramble on, but everything you say is great. Thanks, Lo.
Yeah. Mine would just be kind of all the things I think any streamer would tell you. It's just like abiding by the etiquette of the channel, you know.
Yep.
You know, like like when people come in and they're talking, they're self-promoting, or you know, I mean, and we all know how to deal with like the trash messages. It's not like that doesn't really make me mad. I think the one that gets me is people think that this is just a game and that's all you're doing, and they come in and say something like they're bored, or you look tired, or take a break, or to female streamers really love this one when you tell them they need to smile. All of those things I think are all of those are kind of annoying because sometimes people literally don't even realize that they're openly making you look bad, calling out like whatever you're doing wrong, and it's to get attention for themselves. Because if they genuinely cared about you, they would whisper something like that of saying, hey, are you okay? You look tired? Or hey, or any of that. They'll whisper it if they genuinely care about you. When they say it out loud, it's a blaring slap in the face, because it's like, hey, I'm pretending to care about you, but I really just want everyone to notice me, and I'm going to say this even though it's like not nice to you. And that rubs me really the wrong way. I'd say that's my biggest pet peeve.
Yeah, just calling you out for not being 100%.
Well, and then too, like, I mean, like me and Storm and Team Passion just did a massive computer giveaway, and we had people coming into our channels and saying that the giveaway was fake because we hadn't announced a winner or anything yet. And it was like, well, look, guys, like, you know, we're sorry. It is taking time, but we're trying to make sure that we have a confirmed winner before you announce it. I literally switched my title, and someone came in and like, I knew that title was clickbait, and I'm like, the giveevaway ended.
It ended.
I'm sorry.
We announced the winner, and we're trying to reach out to that winner. You know? And then if the winner doesn't reach out, we put them on a call. If they don't respond and we can't reach them in a certain amount of time, we go for another winner. We do a redraw. It's just because you didn't win. Like, do you realize that giveaway itself, man, there was so many people that got involved in it because of how big it was that, I mean, that's it. Like, odds are you didn't win, you know, like it's not rigged just because you didn't win. Like, you know, like it'd be more crazy if you did win, you know, at some point, you know, so it's like,
oh my God, Chris,
you know.
Yeah, and it was crazy because, you know, I would tell them, like, look, like, you saying that because they're like, well, why are you mad? I'm like, because I'm like, you're damaging my brand by lying.
You're questioning my reputation openly.
Yeah. No, I'm not. Just number one thing I could say to people is understand that when you come into a channel and you say things about a streamer, you know, at the end of the day, like, you are what you're saying, other people are reading. It's not just you saying it, and it is damaging, and it's damaging to us a lot of times mentally. I don't like people coming in and saying they're bored. I'm like, oh crap, well, you know, I'm trying my best here. Sorry, shit. You know?
It's funny how, like, they don't even, like, they're just so absent-minded that they don't realize that it's disrespectful. They're just like saying they're bored because they're at home and they're trying to figure out what to do, and you're like, you have to think about what you say.
Right, like, you're watching my stream and telling me you're bored. Thank you.
Yeah.
Because literally, like, you don't realize, like, and I tell them I know that they don't mean it, like a lot of people that say I'm bored, and I try to guide them because I'm like, you don't realize, like, if you say that in another streamer's channel, a lot of them will ream you and embarrass you, and you're gonna feel really bad. So I, like, try to guide them, like, don't do that, you know, like, I'm not telling you this to be angry. I'm literally trying to help you understand how the ethic, like the code of all this is. So it's like, so you don't do this and get yourself, like, again, you know, in a lot worse of a situation in the channel, because no one wants that. I get it.
Low effort, did you just change yourself to a blueberry picture specifically to say, can I play?
Oh my God, that's high effort.
That's my mod, and that's iMixer staff right there, guys.
That's some extra effort, actually. That's funny as crap.
I'm trying to think what my biggest pet peeve is. I don't know. You guys hit the nail on the head for some really good ones. I think when people come in and they're like, "Are you a guy?" It's probably one of my biggest pet peeves. No, I just like over accentuated makeup. Like, that's what I did before streaming. I'm a makeup artist and a hairstylist.
The best was when that dude came in and yelled at me when I was covering your.
Oh my God.
That guy came and yelled at me and was like, "So, trying to get more followers with that profile pic?" I'm like,
catfish profile pic.
You'd realize that I'm covering a medical leave for this streamer.
No, and I like that point that somebody just made too, is just remembering that the streamer is a real person on the other side of a camera.
I'm a human.
You know? Some of these crazy people stream like 10, 12 hours a day sometimes, and when you come in, you're like, wow, you look tired.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yes, I am tired.
You do have lovely hair, Travis.
How about I go to your job and tell you you're tired?
Right?
Oh yeah, beer smash 100%. That happens all the time.
That happens with giveaways
why I
too.
Don't. When I first started charity streaming, I would collect the money in my own PayPal and then donate it to the charity myself. And thankfully, things like Tiltify and all those things came along to make it so much easier, because now I'm like, nope, everything's getting donated directly to the charity, and that person gets a big fat timeout. Because like, to even assume, or like we were just doing a charity stream before we came in to do this interview, and like I'm like, why would you even come in and say that we're those kinds of people? You know, it's tough. It makes it. I do take it personal in those instances because, you know, it's like we're working hard. We're
You're trying to
taking
do a
time
good
out of
thing.
at any time, like at the end of the day, when you're full time, like when you do a charity stream, you know, at the end, like you're potentially impacting your earnings at the end of the day because you're wanting people to donate to this great cause you're passionate about. But it's also like, well, now what if they donate all their money and they don't have any money for me? You know, it's at the end of the day, and that's the reality of charity streaming too, and why I'm, you know, because I get a lot of requests to do charity streaming, and it's hard to always say yes because a lot of times I have to say no. Yeah, Emerald Book, I get called a guy every day.
I
get
do
called,
too.
Literally, I have this command in my chat.
Not for
a
nothing,
reason.
but I've been called a guy or trans 3 times in this stream so far.
Yeah, no, I've seen. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's always level 1, just
Right?
kids like literally giggling, thinking I'll say whatever I think of. That's like I swear, more girls. It doesn't matter if you're a girl. It's the same. It's the same
It is.
trolly
It is the
like
same-
things
same
they say.
stuff.
They say the same stuff every freaking time, and it's literally
Yeah.
they're just so desperate for attention. They're so angry in life. They have so many issues of their own, and they're just trying to like, you know, spread misery loves
Mhm.
company. You know, so
Yeah, immediate consequences of real life change how people are.
And when you're streaming 8+ hours a day and it's just in your chat repeatedly, it takes a mental toll on you. Regardless
Oh,
if
yeah.
you can see it on our faces or not, or if we just let it roll off our back, like, it gets really, really old. It really does.
Yeah. Yep.
something to keep in mind when you want to start streaming, because people will say mean stuff. And
Yeah.
it's usually the
and-
same things. They just keep saying the same thing every time.
Pirates,
Like,
pirates got
Be
sniped.
creative. Make me laugh. At least be creative and
Yeah.
make me laugh. That's all I ask of a troll.
Like,
And
I'm
they're
all for
the
a funny
same
troll.
old same. Yep.
like I think that's one thing I find is peace of mine is and I know like probably Henley knows this too. It's just like when I see what they say to male streamers a lot of the time, it's usually the same things, and then the same things they say to female streamers. It's like the same
Mhm.
thing every time. So I just
Yeah.
am like, it's the same. It's, you know, these. It's just something
It
that I
doesn't
literally
mean
it doesn't even matter when I see it in chat anymore because I'm just so numb to it. I'm just kind of like, meh. Like
Yep.
like none of those really get me, especially the level 1s. I mean, and my mods, you know, will time them out forever or whatever they need to do, but it's just sad. I try to get awareness out to as many people as I can to be like, that's not the way to like get happiness in life. you're literally
Yep.
you're literally so desperate for love and attention, and you're doing the opposite, and you're drawing more of the same misery into your life with that kind
Yep.
of talk and that kind of energy that you're trying to put on other people. You get, like I said, you get what you give, and it goes both ways, good and bad. You
Yep.
give a bunch of bad, you're gonna get a lot of bad in return.
Yep. You can be a builder or you can be a destroyer.
Right.
Mhm.
What do you want to be?
All right. So we will wrap this up, and I will ask you guys if you guys have any closing points that you want to make to chat.
My biggest thing I always tell people every day is like, you know, if you're passionate about something, like don't let anything stop you. Like, you know, the one thing I knew I was in a toxic work environment is there just seemed to be a disdain for the entrepreneur. Anybody who was doing something outside of, you know, the 9-to-5 job that was furthering themselves, it really seemed to be looked down upon and frowned upon. And, you know, people hate entrepreneurs because I think a lot of it comes from jealousy. It's like, wow, that person is so brave. They're so much more brave than I am. You know, everybody gets put inside of this. They put themselves in a box, and they don't realize that like they're the biggest thing holding themselves back. You know, just don't listen to the naysayers. You know, chase your dreams. What is the worst thing that could happen at the end of the day? Maybe you have to find it. You quit your job and what you tried to do didn't work out. Maybe you find a new job. At the end of the day, like there's always something else you can do, and just don't let negativity and a toxic culture stop you from chasing those dreams.
I like that answer.
Yeah, same. I'm just gonna take from what Asikaa said too, just simply because I think that's what we're doing here right now is trying to help streamers like get started and stuff. And that would my advice would be, don't worry about being perfect. Don't worry about having all the answers. Don't worry about having the best setup. Just start and
Get
fail
going.
and fail and fail. It doesn't matter. You're doing it. That is doing it. Just start. It doesn't matter if you have I don't care if you even have a camera yet. If this is something you really want to do, or if this isn't even what you're like, it's anything in life, just start. It doesn't matter. You'll learn as you go. It's way better than, you'll never really ever start if you're thinking, well, I need to make sure I have this and this and this and this, and I want to make sure it's this quality. No, who cares? It's no matter what, even if you think you have it all together, it's still going to be bad. Once you start doing it, you'll look back and go, oh, I could do better. Like I've learned so much. So it's a nonsense mind frame. You need to just start. Like whatever you want to do in life. You're never too young and you're never too old to start. Just start doing it.
And you don't have to be good at games to be a streamer either.
No.
So don't feel you have to be good.
Nope. Don't have to be good.
Nope.
I
Just
think Sapphire.
don't just stare at your screen and do this while you're gaming. At least
Yeah.
talk to people. At least try. At least try to hold a conversation.
Be a bot with a conversation.
Yeah.
All right, chat. Well, thank you guys for joining us today. And huge thank you to Stormbreaker and Asikaa for joining us too. I feel like they gave you guys a wealth of information, some pretty good insight into what it's like to be a full-time content creator. So I appreciate that on behalf of chat for you guys being willing to share information like that, because I mean, let's face it, there are some content creators that really don't want to talk about what goes on behind the curtain. And I feel like with all these opportunities and the growth that the industry is seeing, it's really important to be honest and upfront about expectation levels. And I think you guys did a fantastic job today, so thank you for that.
No
Honored to be
worries.
here.
It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
I've always been a big fan of Henley. She's amazing, incredible, and Asikaa is like family to me. So it's like I've like being, once I met her when we were like joining Passion together and stuff, it was like, oh wow, like just getting to know each other. So I just feel honored to be part of it with you guys. Thank you for having me. Happy to be here.
Yeah. Thanks, guys. Thank you, everybody who subbed, followed, and everything.
Yeah, thank you, everybody.
Alerts are going off left and right.
So thank you guys. And normally we're all much more talkative with you guys. So thank you for your patience and everyone who came in and informed people what was going on so that they knew. Thank you guys very much.